everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and this is our Pro Wrestling Recap show for the week where we go over all the shows from WWE and AEW. This week, we're probably not going to do NXT until tomorrow, though. We're going to have a special guest. Our Wrestling Fun Facts and Trivia guru, Mike, is going to be on, and we're going to talk exclusively NXT with him tomorrow, so come here and check that on the channel. But if you're finding us for the first time, please hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. But we are going to go over Smackdown, AEW Rampage, Raw, and AEW Dynamite on today's show. So let's get into those shows without any further ado here. Smackdown this last week hailed from Madison Square Garden, the pretty much home of WWE for a long time here. I believe it's their first show there in a long while, though, due to the pandemic and things like that. They highlighted the show with some 9/11 footage throughout the episode, obviously with the 9/11 20th anniversary on the following day here. So it's interesting to see all that. Pat McAfee's back on commentary, so good to see him back from COVID-19. Absolutely awesome to see him healthy again, so let's hope that continues for him. We opened up the show with Roman Reigns and a Brock Lesnar segment. This was actually I'm not going to lie, I thought this SmackDown was good as one of the better WWE shows I've seen in a long time. We'll get to Raw, but SmackDown I thought was really good here. The fans gave Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman, and the Usos a huge reaction as they made their entrance. After they entered, the fans erupted in boos with a faint Roman chant. Roman's pointed out that WWE runs New York City and the Bloodline runs the WWE. Therefore, Reigns runs New York City and Madison Square Garden by proxy. The fans booed loudly at this. Roman demanded the fans acknowledge him. At first, the fans gave a mixed reaction, but were very loud. The fans then broke into a very loud Roman chant. Suddenly, Brock Lesnar's music hit and got a massive pop. Lesnar jumped into the ring and then went face-to-face with Roman Reigns. The fans went crazy for the face-off between the two, but the Usos then stepped in between them. Heyman grabbed a mic and told Lesnar they could go after any belt other than the Universal title. Lesnar grabbed the mic and then asked Paul Heyman why he didn't tell Roman he would be at SummerSlam. So putting Paul Heyman on the spot here. The fans reacted really big to this shocking statement here by Lesnar. Heyman then pleaded with Roman Reigns, but Roman walked up, snatched the Universal title out of Paul Heyman's hands, and immediately left the ring. So you could this whole segment here where he snatched the belt from Heyman told the entire story. So I thought that was a great little part there that they did there. Nice little detail. Reigns and the Usos walked off, leaving Lesnar and Heyman in the ring. Heyman then did his old introduction for Lesnar, probably hoping he wouldn't get destroyed here, I'm guessing. And it got another big pop from the crowd. Lesnar then told Heyman to accept his challenge for a title shot at Reigns. The fans then broke out into a loud Suplex City chant. I guess he was hoping that Haynes would accept the challenge while Roman was out of the picture, so Haynes would buckle under the pressure of Lesnar beating him up. So that makes some sense. Heyman refused to do so, though. So Lesnar picked him up for an F5, and Roman Reigns ran back in and rocked Lesnar with a Superman punch. That sent him falling down with Heyman on his shoulders in kind of a Samoan drop position. He went for a second Superman punch, but Lesnar caught him in the F5. The Usos ran in and hit Lesnar with two super kicks, though, and he didn't go down. He recovered and took out the Usos with the double clothesline. Reigns escaped and ran up the ramp. So, yeah, that was in my opinion, that was a great segment to set up this Roman Reigns. We still don't know exactly when we're going to get this title match because, obviously, what they set up by the end of this show, but it appears it'll probably either be at Saudi or Survivor Series. That sounds like where they're going here. In the back, we had Kayla Braxton. She tried to interview Roman Reigns and the Usos, but they walked off, and Heyman claimed he didn't know that Lesnar was going to be at SummerSlam. That Brock just said that. He promised that Reigns would answer Lesnar when he's ready, whenever the tribal chief deems it so. So I like that whole gimmick there where, Roman is the one just calling all the shots. Roman's just been great. There's no doubt about it. One of the best parts of WWE in general, but especially SmackDown. Then we had a fun 10-man tag. Again, it's kind of one of those things that Raw's got this problem a little bit too, where you got the main event scene and then you got everything else. Some SmackDown stuff was better than the Raw stuff, but this here, King Nakamura, Rick Boogs, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, and Big E defeated Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Otis, and Apollo Crews in the 10-man tag here. The referee caught Trey Young, which I guess was a guest of Sami Zayn. What team does he play for? They beat the Knicks in the playoffs, and I think everybody was booing him because he was in New York. So NBA player, whatever. It's kind of what WWE does. They bring in these sports guys, that sort of thing. So yeah, Trey Young tried to get involved, but the referee sent him to the back. The fans exploded in cheers when the referee kicked out Trey Young. Rey and Dominic then hit the double 619 on Sami Zayn, and Big E hit the big ending for the win. So good to see the babyface get a win here, especially Big E, who even teased before the match that he was going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase soon, either on Roman or on Raw, which we'll get to Raw. We know what happened there for those of you who've seen the show, but we'll get to it. After the match, that's what he said. He teased it after the match was over. So they aired a second 9/11 video, and then we get a Bianca Belair Becky Lynch contract signing. It was kind of interesting because Bianca Belair came out to the ring first, and then she signed it, but then that was before Becky even came out, which was interesting enough. So it was kind of different.
Well, she signed it like, nah, I like, one of those like, I'm signing this now, and my name's already on it. Now you need to put your name on it. Like one of those. I'm establishing dominance. You gotta establish dominance, man. Yeah. And in Bianca's case, consider dominance established.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I like what they're doing with Bianca. And don't get me wrong, I still don't like what they did with SummerSlam, but I do think they're doing a better job of building this now. Even though it definitely did not start the way I wanted, and I still feel like it hurt Bianca to a degree. But at the same time, I am excited to see these two wrestle again, and they're going to have a good match when given the proper time. So that notwithstanding, I think what they're doing is pretty good here with these two. Speaking of which, Becky then does come out. She came out wearing a very flashy red fur coat and very big sunglasses. She looks like definitely Seth Rollins' girlfriend here, or I guess wife now. I think they're married. But she's got that drip going on here.
Brother, don't you ever in life say that again.
What, drip? Or
yes.
That's what it is.
She doesn't have drip.
That's what it came off to me as.
Sounds so gross.
She definitely had this heel. Now, obviously, they're portraying her as a heel, but they turned it up to another level with this outfit.
She doesn't have the. But no, man, she doesn't have the Seth Rollins drip. That's different.
That's a whole other ball game. But it felt like she was maybe taking some cues from her husband here a little bit. But
Seth Rollins' drip hit different, bro.
Well, I agree. I mean, nobody competes with Mr. Johnny Drip himself. But actually, I take that back. I think Seth is better at it than
I think
John
Seth
Morrison.
is way better.
Johnny is just too cheesy with it, which is not his fault.
And it's not good. Like if it wasn't so cheesy, I'd be on board with it. But it is just straight up trash, dude.
Yeah, trash. and I feel bad for it because I'm trying to learn, especially after this week with some of the stuff that's going on, that to give WWE some benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, I still want to call out what stuff I don't like. That's just the way it is. But I can see why some fans like it, and we'll get to that when we get to Monday Night Raw a little bit here. So when Becky Lynch came out, she got a mixed reaction, and the fans broke into a faint EST chant. Lynch wondered what would happen if she didn't sign the contract. Bel-Air demanded Lynch sign the contract, though, and so did Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, who were also in the ring. The fans broke into a sign it chant. Lynch was enraged and noted the fans were chanting for her when she was away, but of course now they're still chanting for her. I don't know what she's really complaining about. They're still cheering her, but I guess she's supposed to act like they kind of aren't, I guess. I mean, they were cheering for Becky in this segment here a little bit, but Lynch noted that she left her baby girl at home, but the fans favor a flash in the pan over her. The fans broke into another EST chant. Lynch finally signed the contract and then threw it at Bel-Air. Bel-Air caught it too, by the way. She walked off holding
reflexes.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. She's like threw it, just like thank you. That sort of deal. She walked up the ramp to loud boo. So at least it seems like some of the fans are finally starting to boo Becky Lynch a little bit. They still pop for her entrance because it's Becky. But maybe they're starting to get some of their fans to turn on her, which would be a feat nonetheless. In the back, Shotzi and Tegan Nox, which correct me if I'm wrong. Shotzi and Tegan have beaten the tag team champions, I believe, 3 times now, and no title match in sight. We'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit more when we get to Raw too.
Think about their fucking title shot, the women's titles. Like I legitimately don't, and it's upsetting because you have a lot of women. It pisses me off because it's like you have talent here. It's the same with the men's tag division. You have all this talent, and you do. Like WWE has a lot of great talent there. It's just like they're just milling about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Nobody knows what the fuck they're doing.
Well, and especially when it comes to the women. Toni Storm, I heard, was cut from this show because she was supposed to face Zelina Vega, which I don't know if you heard about this story. They were, scheduled for this show on Friday night. And the story with Zelina Vega is her father died in 9/11. This was right before the anniversary. So, and apparently, from what I read, she had like some gear and stuff made up in remembrance of him and things like that. And they cut her match. It's like, for real. I mean, not only that, you get both of them on there. It probably gives Zelina a win over Toni Storm, I would assume, being that the whole thing was going on. But then again, knowing WWE, they probably would have beat Zelina. I don't know, because Toni Storm is a newer face, maybe. I don't know. But either way, it would have been nice to at least seen that match, so she could have gotten her moment. Now she was able to give a speech at the 9/11 ceremonies on Saturday, so that was good to see her doing that. But it just felt bad for her, because of all days to cut a match right here. That's rough. So yeah, but Shotzi and Tegan definitely are not being utilized properly. They've won championship contenders matches. They beat them straight up in tag matches. It's like, what are you doing? But we'll talk about that more on Raw, because we've also got championship contenders matches for the women's title over there, which is like, what are we doing? So they approached Paul Heyman on their tank and offered him a ride. So this is kind of where they're slotted right now. Caleb Braxton interviewed Heyman again. He noted that Reigns would watch the Usos retain the titles later. It was funny, too, because when they rolled off on their tank, Heyman turned around and there was Kayla, so it scared the crap out of Heyman. So I thought he sold that well. Then he turned around and then there was Big E holding the briefcase, scared him again. So at least Heyman was doing a good job here. They announced the WWE Champion Bobby Lashley defends against Randy Orton this coming Monday on Raw. Interesting to note here, Randy Orton and Riddle were supposed to defend the tag titles against Bobby and MVP, because even though they did it a couple weeks ago and Bobby and MVP lost clean, they changed it at the last minute to Bobby and Randy instead of at Extreme Rules. They're doing it on Raw. And I don't know what everybody else feels. I know a lot of people had different opinions on this. Personally, that to me is because AEW beat them in the demos. There were people were saying, oh, they changed the Monday Night Raw main event because of Monday Night Football. No, I don't believe that, because they know Monday Night Football was coming for months and they still booked this, and changed it. So if that was the case, they never would have changed it like this. To me, I've been reading reports that Vince McMahon got very reactionary and started changing everything on any Extreme Rules card because of some things that happened this week. And it happened after Wednesday, so I believe that's the case. But believe what you will. That's just my opinion. So we then had a Seth Rollins versus Edge match. This was the best thing on the show outside of the Roman Reigns stuff. Once again, Edge and Seth Rollins are great at their jobs. They know what they're doing. Seth's gimmick notwithstanding, sometimes I'm not the big fan of it. But they had, just like they did at SummerSlam, another great match here on SmackDown. The match basically ends pretty much when Edge kind of gets his neck hurt a little bit, even on a buckle bomb, believe it at that. And then after, which obviously it plays into the whole Seth Rollins hurting Sting at one point thing, and Finn Balor got hurt on a buckle bomb on the outside. So Edge got that here. And then, of course, Edge kind of went down and then was like staring off into the distance like he was out of it. And then he took some super kicks, he took a curb stomp, 1, 2, 3, game over. But yeah, and then after the match, they stretchered Edge out of the arena and into the ambulance, and that's the last we've seen of him. So I don't know if that means Edge is off TV for a while, because he kind of comes and goes a bit, comes in for the big matches, maybe has a couple weeks after that, and then he kind of part-timer-ish, even though he said he was full-time. But he is there more than like Brock used to be. It's just kind of, I mean, but then they did play up after they put him in the ambulance that Seth Rollins was acting like he don't know how he feels about that. Like he don't know if he should be happy. He just kind of again, like he was in a like a state, kind of like when he was facing Cesaro, like when he snapped. So it's kind of one of those deals. And now he's just kind of like, I don't, and numb almost that he did these actions. So interesting to see where they're going with Rollins, but maybe we'll see Edge again at some point soon. I kind of wonder if they're maybe going to set up Rollins versus Roman, but we'll see how that goes in a few months going forward. After the match, Edge did move and all that stuff, and they put him in the ambulance. Rey Mysterio, Sonya Deville, and Adam Pearce checked on Edge as well before he got put in there. Edge mentioned Beth Phoenix as they put him in the ambulance, and Rollins watched the ambulance leave the arena in a daze. In the back, Roman Reigns gave the Usos a pep talk for their upcoming match. The Usos promised to retain the titles and make the family proud. Reigns then noted he saved Heyman and wanted to know why he didn't tell him that Brock would be at SummerSlam. Heyman did not have an answer. He didn't even answer. It was weird because he's like, why didn't you tell me Brock was going to be at SummerSlam? But the camera just hung on him for it seemed like an eternity before they cut to, I believe it was a commercial break or the next segment. Just kind of I guess it's supposed to be drama, suspense. What's the answer? Yeah, but it just felt a little odd, that's all. But other than that, it was fine. The Street Profits then in the main event defeated the Usos via DQ during their tag team championship match here, because this match basically boiled down to the fact that the Street Profits literally had the Usos beat. But midway through the match, the Usos are a little on the ropes a little bit, so Roman walks down the ramp and stands there and watches. The match continues, and of course, at the very end, it looked like I think Angelo Dawkins hit a move on one of the Usos, and they went for a cover, and then Roman got in there, broke it up, and put the Street Profit in a guillotine, or what's the guillotine he puts on? Yeah, the guillotine on Montez Ford. So that kind of disqualification because Roman got involved, but they did it in a way it was so well because the Usos were so on the ropes, you knew they were losing this if Roman did not get involved. Mm-hmm. It was that convincing. So it was Roman saving their hide, saving the bloodline, keeping the belts in the family. So I like that, but at the same time, I hate that it isn't a DQ. But at least in this case, I think it does further the storyline they're telling here with Roman. Maybe the Usos are not pulling their weight. Maybe Roman gets a little upset at him. Could be going down that line too, but otherwise I thought it was very well executed. All right, so this all led to the fact that Roman Reigns then grabbed the mic and accepted Brock Lesnar's challenge. Didn't say when, just says I accept your challenge. Maybe I wonder if they even know what has happened at this point. I don't know, but
I don't think they do.
I'm not sure. Sometimes WWE kind of seems to book things on the fly, which we'll get into here in a minute too. Roman Reigns promised to smash Lesnar after he smashes Finn Balor, so that's the confirmation we're getting Finn Balor again. Just random. We didn't. Finn Balor hadn't been mentioned on the show at all up to this point. But suddenly the lights went out, and as we discussed last week, what we kind of anticipated was going to happened here. Finn Balor interrupted and walked out and did the demon entrance, full makeup and everything, as he walked out and got into the ring and went face-to-face with Roman to end the show, which was actually a really good SmackDown, wrestling-wise and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, there's some goofiness and a little, some booking that's kind of like, okay, we've seen these guys in the ring together over and over again. But all things considered, especially with the Seth Rollins match and Edge, and then, of course, the Roman stuff here with Brock, very good. Interesting that Brock did not come out again by the end of the show. He just kind of did his appearance in the beginning, and that was it. But the Demon, I'm concerned about that just because we know where that's going. I think anybody who watches any sort of pro wrestling knows that the Demon Finn Balor is going to get fed to Roman, and there goes another creation that NXT basically built, and it has an undefeated streak on the main roster down the toilet. It's unfortunate because we want better for Finn Balor because we love Finn Balor, and we even hope that when he went back to the main roster, they do it right this time. And in some aspects, they have done it better. But unless they do some sort of screwy finish at Extreme Rules, Finn Balor's taking the pinfall here, and it's a shame to see. But that's just such is life in WWE at this point.
I mean, yeah, like I said, we can talk about that, but at the same time, they fed so many guys to Brock Lesnar, and he was hardly fucking there. And, in this aspect, it's one of those situations where at least Roman's there.
Right.
And it's not.
That's true.
He's not he's a credible champion. He's a reigning, defending champion in the sense of Balor losing to him, which he's going to, even the Demon itself. But, one of those situations where it's almost like I get it, Balor's got to do something, and he'll lose, but at least it's just not him being fed to a part-timer.
Hopefully I still would like to maybe see them come up with some sort of creative way, which I know I'm asking a lot, to somehow keep the streak intact. I don't know how obviously it might be a lost DQ, count out, whatever. But I would rather him just not take a submission or a pinfall loss. But I usually don't like when matches end like that either. But
it's still a loss, though.
Right. But in this case, it's like I would prefer that over the alternative. But
and I understand situations where like Roman's like, I don't know if I can beat this thing, and so he just chooses the cheap way out and gets a DQ. Yeah, it's a shit one, but at the same time, the Demon still looks strong. Like it put the tribal chief in a situation where he had to do something.
And I know WWE probably don't view it as booking themselves into a corner. I do, because it's like, all right, we want to keep Roman strong, I'm all for, but I also want to keep the Demon strong, I'm all for. So you're kind of, but in their eyes, it's like, all right, we're going to keep Roman strong, and we need challengers for Roman. That's how they look at this. Bottom line, end of story. But I just feel like, and I get you don't have a lot of guys who are credible to go against Roman right now until you do a draft to get some guys over there that can actually have not faced Roman yet. But they're kind of in a pickle because they haven't built anybody else. And the Demon Finn Balor is probably the best guy there, except for maybe Kevin Owens or something, which they're not even using, who was not on this show again, by the way. Again, a lot of talk about his contract ending in January of next year. And all they got for him is Kevin Owens show segments. And this week wasn't even there. Neither was Baron Corbin. So I guess that Happy Corbin stuff with KO is going to have to wait another week at least. But it's just things like that. It's like, I want to see better from the challengers for Roman, which we'll probably get. I got a feeling Drew McIntyre's coming over. I got a feeling we're going to get some guys from Raw in the draft here in about a couple weeks' time when they have it on October 1st and on October 4th. They said will be the draft, so we'll be getting that soon. But until then, they're treading water with some guys they have, and Finn Balor is the best candidate, which is just unfortunate for him. All right, let's move on to AEW Rampage from Cincinnati, Ohio, this last Friday night as well. The show opened up with Andrade El Idolo versus Pac, the match we were unable to get at All Out. Very, very entertaining match, in my opinion. It delivered on everything you wanted it to deliver on, except for the finish for me. Which it's just kind of one of those deals. But again, I like that. I will say, though, after this week's Dynamite, I don't feel as bad about it because of what they did with the Andrade promo, which we'll get to. But for this one night here, as incredible as the match was, there was an incredible RVD style split leg moonsault by Andrade at one point in this, and both of these guys were wrestling great. Nothing wrong with the wrestling here. It's just the finish where Andre Abrahantes, I believe, was distracting the official, and Chavo came in to he attacked Pac in the head when he had Andrade down, and of course the storyline here is that Andrade did not ask for the help, but Chavo took it upon himself to help anyway. And so Andrade got the win here. He rolled up Pac after the attack from Chavo hitting him in the head with an iPad, but the whole storyline is, like I said, is the fact that he didn't ask for the help. So that's good. I got no problem with that, which they again follow up on Dynamite. So good with that. Excellent match other than that. But this all led to the fact that after the match, Jose told El Idolo, is Jose I'm sorry, I'm confusing Abrahantes with the other guy who's with Pac. I think Abrahantes is with Penta and Phoenix. But anyway, Jose told El Idolo that Chavo interfered, so El Idolo decked Chavo and left him laying in the entrance ramp. So, and then of course the Lucha Bros were out there as well. I want to say they might have come out, because the whole Andrade stuff, all that stuff. They hit Chavo with a super kick, and then they threw Chavo back in the ring for Pac to torture him with the brutalizer for the fact that he cost him the match. But this to me it's basically just boiling down to the fact that Andrade has kicked out Chavo. It feels like he's kicked out Chavo. He was not on Dynamite this week. A lot of speculation is he kicked out Chavo so Ric Flair could come in to be his new manager. Which, again, the whole family relation there with Charlotte and Andrade, obviously, it makes some sense. But that may be the plan. But he was not on this week's show or anything like that.
But I feel like you had way more of an interesting dynamic with Chavo.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole thing was supposed to be about, Mexican pride. That's the reason why he wanted the Lucha Brothers. He was building this full Mexican stable. Chavo being the mouthpiece, and you'd have the Lucha Brothers, and then Andrade.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's interesting because Andrade's gone through Vicky Guerrero now. He's gone through Chavo, I mean, you can always play up the storyline like I finally found the person I want to manage me, or lead me on this path, and then you could introduce Rick. You could always do that, but at the same time,
but Rick is
it
one
is
of
weird.
Those, like Rick is a dominant personality. You can't have him just be a mouthpiece here. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, believe me, he'll get involved. He'll definitely get it. But here's the thing, too. If Andrade is upset with the fact that Chavo or the likes of Chavo are getting involved in his matches, what's he going to do with the dirtiest player in the game in his corner?
That's what I'm saying.
I agree.
I don't know.
That is a little weird. So, again, that's speculation. Well, no one knows for sure right now. But it does open that door. So we'll have to see if that's what they do. Also interesting to know, when Jose jumped up on the apron, he did so with a taser, which, by the way, he was clicking, which I don't know if you remember that old segment in WCW when I think Scott Hall had the taser. Mm-hmm. It sounded just like that when he stunned Goldberg.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was interesting. I don't know if it was supposed to be kind of like an homage to that or not. But, yeah, so I'm sorry I got his name wrong, by the way. I'm going to beat myself up for that one. But, anyhow, yeah, so we'll see what they do with the Ric Flair segment, but or if they do that at all. But that is the speculation at this point. Sting and Darby Allin did an interview with Tony Schiavone. Allin called out Spears and said Spears would be nothing without Tully Blanchard. Sting then grabbed the mic and said Blanchard rode the coattails of Ric Flair and Arn Anderson. So there's a Ric Flair reference immediately following that. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it is there. Sting called out Tully Blanchard, and Blanchard responded from the stage. While Blanchard distracted Sting from the entrance ramp, Shawn Spears snuck in and from behind and pulled Darby Allin out of the ring and hit him with the Death Valley driver. So smart. And even Tully was acting like, play smart, not hard, that sort of thing. Yeah, so it was a good little segment to tease their Dynamite match that came up this last evening. So. Then we had Adam Cole and a Bryan Danielson segment and pre-taped comments from backstage. Adam Cole explained why he joined the Elite. He trusts the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, and they trust him. Cole seemed to have his sights set on Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson responds in his own pre-taped comments, but he's looking for his first match in AEW to be with Kenny Omega. But if Omega doesn't respond to Danielson's challenge, he's sure some other hungry AEW wrestler will. So kind of building up toward Dynamite. So at least it's building. Interesting that Cole wanted Danielson first. He doesn't get Danielson first, but he has his sights set on him. Well, I'm sure we'll get that match at some point, but it won't be right away, doesn't sound like. Ruby Soho, Chris Statlander, and Riho defeated Dr. Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. So, yeah, I mean, see, this match, I mean, again, 6 women tags are definitely hard to cover here. Statlander caught Baker with a suplex. Riho climbed on Statlander's shoulders looking to hit a move on Baker, but Rebel threw herself onto Britt Baker to save her. So Riho came off of Statlander's shoulders with a double foot stomp on Rebel. It's kind of like a coup de grace on top of Rebel instead. Baker rolled to the floor, and Soho hit her finisher on Rebel to get the pinfall in this 6-woman tag. I thought this was actually pretty fun for the fact that it was on Rampage and, 1 hour show, kept the things flowing really well. I had fun with it personally, but again, I'm sure it's got its detractors. But you can say that with all this stuff. There's gonna be people who love it or hate it, depending on which side you fall on. The crew ran down all the upcoming matches for the shows the next 2 weeks. Mark Henry then conducted a face-to-face interview with Max Caster and Brian Pillman, who were in the main event of this show. And I kind of like how Mark Henry every week does these little inset interviews with the two combatants in the main event, and he always ends it with the big smile, and he's like, and it's time for the main event. And it just, I don't know why, it just always kind of gives me a little bit of a chuckle because Mark is so into it. So that's really cool. And that led to the fact that Brian Pillman Jr. in the main event defeated Max Caster with Anthony Bowens in his corner. Max Caster come out, and he still can't say what he thinks Skyline Chili looks like in his pre-match rap, though, because Anthony Bowens took the mic and said, dude, you're still on thin ice, Max, calm down. So at least they're playing into the fact that he got in trouble. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, basically this wasn't a very long match, but it was fun a little bit here. But it was basically to get Brian Pillman over here in front of his hometown crowd. But Caster tossed Pillman back into the ring and went for his mic drop, top rope elbow, but Pillman got out of the way. Pillman then hit Caster with the Air Pillman springboard clothesline and got the pinfall here. The babyfaces winning in their hometown. Who knew, right? I mean, that's a novel concept. But Pillman briefly celebrated with his family in the front row, but Anthony Bowens jumped Brian Pillman Jr. again. Both members of the Acclaim tried to attack Pillman with their boombox, but Jon Moxley, the other hometown hero, ran in to make the save. The hometown boys celebrated in the crowd with all the cheers as the show closed here. So, again, another fun little Rampage, but I am not going to lie. Not this week, but the following week when they do their Rampage show from New York, it's going to be 2 hours. So I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of glad we're going to get 2-hour Dynamite, 2-hour Rampage. I want to see how that goes. It could be possibly. I know it's a big show in New York with a big stadium. So it's going to be hot no matter what. It's probably going to get a little higher ratings due to that fact. And they've stacked both these cards, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But I'm excited to see. It could be maybe Rampage's like audition to go 2 hours. I don't know if it'll stay on Friday or what, but I got a feeling they're probably already thinking, okay, we might want to expand this, but we'll see if they do. But this week's show, another fun little show outside of the finish to the pack stuff. But again, if you'd have added that to All Out and still had that same finish, I think All Out would have even been better because it would have flowed kind of well with the pacing they were doing in that show, in my opinion. Yeah. So it would have been cool, but unfortunately wasn't able to see it. So, but that's that. All right, let's move into Monday Night Raw this week. A big title change that happened on this show earlier in the day. Big E got on his Twitter. Obviously, because like I mentioned earlier, apparently it seems like they were trying to do some adjusting on the fly here, in my opinion, due to the AEW demos beating out Raw. And, of course, Vince McMahon was ripping up scripts again from what I hear. And, of course, they obviously wanted to hotshot a rating. That's the talk right now about how while everybody is excited, and I, myself included, absolutely excited that Big E won.
I get that, you know, you're going to – he did it to hotshot ratings or whatever. Big E earned that.
Of course he did.
So no matter when he got it, ultimately I'm happy for him because whether it was a hot-shotted thing to boost ratings, that doesn't matter because at the end of the day, Big E works his ass off, proven time and time again.
Agreed.
And no matter what, Vince has to have some kind of faith in his drawing ability and presence to give him that title.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't do it no matter what.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Regardless of the ratings, anything like that, that is secondary to the fact that Vince has to have some sort of trust and belief in you in order for it to happen.
Agreed.
Otherwise, that shit does not happen.
Right. But my only pushback, and I absolutely agree with you. I want to say it up front. I am happy for Big E. Big E is absolutely deserving of it. He's a very hard worker. Seems like a hell of a dude. First of all, let's just get that out of the way. He seems like, one of the funnest guys to be around. Granted, that's partially his character, but at the same time, if you've seen him in other stuff that's not on camera, what it does to his character, he just seems like a fun guy anyway. Mm-hmm. It's his character. It's himself turned up to 11, which is usually what you do best in wrestling, is when you have the greatest character. That notwithstanding, and the hotshot stuff notwithstanding too, I did feel a little rushed, just because of the fact you could have waited to maybe a bigger moment than just a random Raw. To do this after the ratings.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
But,
like, I'm not sitting here question, but it's like at the same time, I don't give a shit what the ratings are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the fans shouldn't care.
The man does not believe the fact that you can carry said torch.
Yeah.
You ain't carrying said torch.
And, I know, but I'm just saying now the timing of it. That's all it is.
Yeah, the
dude is obviously able to do that.
Yeah, but it's just like, And another thing too, like I've seen this picture, and one of the guys that I used to wrestle with and stuff, he posted this picture, and it's the New Day. It's the picture of when Kofi won.
Kofi won, yeah.
And Big E and Xavier are standing here and they're holding him up, and Xavier's crying, and Big E's shit-eating grin on his face. And then right below that is a picture of Big E when he won.
Yeah.
And Xavier's here and Kofi's here. And they're excited. The fact that these three friends are that they share each other's success. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
It's this thing.
They're legit good friends. Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it. And I couldn't be more happier for you for this achievement.
Right.
And it's like, it's one of those things in wrestling that you don't get often. The last time we saw something like that legitimately from the Hart situation was, and I'm going to say this guy's name, knowing full and well what happened. The night the night Chris Benoit won.
Oh, and Eddie
comes out.
The Mania we cannot talk about no more.
Yeah.
But that moment at the end of
now
WrestleMania 20,
they have kind of released the ban on Chris Benoit.
Really, I hadn't heard that.
If I can find the article again,
I'd be interested to know that. That'd be good because I mean, again, regardless of what Benoit did, I still think his wrestling career should be celebrated because he was one of the best wrestlers ever.
Yeah, and I also think too they should do the same thing for China, but that's a different story.
Well, yeah, and actually did they put China in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
So they did that. Now I don't see Benoit ever going to the Hall of Fame.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And I understand why. I mean, obviously, what he did, there's no defending it. Absolutely, I'm not saying that. But I just think from a pure wrestling career side of things, Benoit had one hell of a career. Yeah. And it was one of the best ever. Unfortunately, led to his downfall, but that's another story. But the Big E thing, though, you just mentioned, it kind of proved my point just a little here. You said they had the image of Kofi and they had the image of Big E when he won. Mm-hmm. The difference is when Kofi won is at WrestleMania.
Yes, and you're right. You're
you know what I'm saying?
Correct. Like I'm not saying like you're not wrong in this. Mm-hmm. It's just like I said like before, like playing devil's advocate in this sense. Right. This is still a huge thing.
Agreed. And I get why everybody's happy. They have every right to be happy for Big E.
And I'm not saying you're shitting on. I'm not saying anybody's shitting on.
No, I'm definitely not doing that either.
Like to play devil's advocate here in this situation, Big E had that briefcase. Mm-hmm. If Vince didn't think you could carry that torch, you would end up getting the Baron Corbin treatment. Somebody's taking that fucking thing off of you. Mm-hmm. Somebody who he thinks is worth it. He has to have some marker of faith in you to do this.
Of course.
And Big E has the charisma. Big E's also a guy you can sit in
he's been a guy that I think Vince has liked for a long time just because of his look. I mean, he's got everything that Vince would want. I mean,
and from a business standpoint, he's a guy you can put in front of a camera on a morning talk show. He's articulate.
People will laugh. People will have fun with him. Yeah. Absolutely. No doubt about that. I mean, there's a part of me
is marketable as the face of your company if you let him be that.
I mean, and I'm not going to deny that. I mean, I just kind of, again, the timing notwithstanding, not just the timing, but a part of me wonders, okay, yes, he's been in one of the greatest tag teams for a long time. Mm-hmm. He just got done with the Intercontinental title, and then it felt like, what was it, maybe a month or two later, that he's in the world title picture. Maybe you could have just built it maybe till Mania next year. That would have been cool. Not only that, it was not so much, and a lot of people were complaining about how he basically told everybody he was going to cash it in, took away the surprise. That part doesn't really bother me because we've had other Money in the Bank holders say, okay, like John Cena, I'm cashing it in on this date. I had no problem with that per se even. Or even the fact that he was trying to advertise it to pop a rating, even though the rating part is like, okay, just do you. Forget what AEW is doing.
Yeah.
Do you. But that notwithstanding, the way they booked this, I thought could have been a little better. And I'll tell you my idea for it when we get to it here, but we'll get into it. I just feel like there might have been a way to do it to kind of justify maybe Bobby saying, because he's going to come out and say, I was unfair, I deserve a rematch. That's going to happen.
That's happening. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get to that though. So let's start the show here. Big E did come out and he basically said, I acknowledge my tweet. I'm planning on cashing in tonight, flat out. So Big E was very excited and ate up the crowd reaction until Randy Orton and Riddle entered the ring. Before they hit the ring, Bobby Lashley in a suit entered with MVP, who was also in a suit. Big E announced that he fully planned on cashing in tonight. And he's kind of standing there, in between them, just kind of holding up the briefcase. So, Big E doing Big E stuff, so it's great. Riddle asked him not to cash in on his bro, Randy, though, because he's my bro, MVP told Riddle to shut up, which got a pop from the crowd because I think a lot of people were just, look, I get Riddle's over to a degree, but there's some people who just don't want to hear Riddle talk at this point. Mm-hmm. And he said that he won't be an issue because Randy wasn't winning the title tonight. MVP said he was normally happy to see Big E because he can laugh at his stupid antics like anybody else. MVP wasn't happy, however, because they were supposed to be getting a tag title shot, so at least they acknowledged the fact that they changed it. Good for that. And a lot of people were saying here they explained why. I don't agree with that though, because but MVP said Orton politicked his way to get the WWE title match tonight instead of at Extreme Rules. Orton winked at the crowd. He said it's been 14 years since he's fought Lashley and didn't want to wait 2 more weeks. He said there was no politicking. He simply asked for the match, and it was accepted because he's Randy freaking Orton. He said he went to the back and talked to the one who had the most power and got it changed. How was that not politicking? He walked to the back and said, So to me, that's not an explanation. That's just like it was almost like they didn't want to come up with a creative reason why they changed it. But yeah, so to me, it was kind of, but at the same time, I get why they're changing it because again, they're trying to pop some ratings here. I understand, and don't get me wrong here. I'm giving WWE a little flack here for trying to pop ratings and hot shot and certain things right now. But here's the thing too. We want WWE to start responding a little bit to the stuff AEW is doing because we want AEW to drive WWE to be better. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a way of doing it to where you don't just say, all right, let's put the title on the new guy because we got to get people talking. Now, do it in a way that makes sense. Focus on your storytelling. Make it good. People will come. That sort of thing. That's our only complaint about it here. Other than that, I'm glad Big E won the title here, but for sure. Big E was excited to see them fight, though. Again, he's kind of clowning in the ring a little bit. MVP called him a clown, but all the clowns in New Day, he thought Big E would be the first to win the world title, not Kofi. However, he ran from SmackDown to Raw, perhaps because he's afraid of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. Lashley made sure to mention he wasn't afraid of Brock, especially. So Lashley's still dropping these hints that he wants to wrestle Brock, which
I just wish that this would have been a situation for the title. And don't get me wrong, I get that your bigger story here right now is this whole thing with Heyman and
which is Lesnar a cool wrinkle,
and Roman, which is a great dynamic here. But I kind of wanted to see Lashley go for that title.
Well, here's the thing: I'm still not sold that you're not going to see that. I get everybody's happy for Big E, but what did they do with Kofi Kingston? Brock come in and beat him. I'm not saying he's going to do that to Big E, but here's the thing: they tried to hotshot this to draw a rating, like I said, and the rating was down. Still, despite now, granted, a lot of that is due to Monday Night Football being back, absolutely, but it was down from like a normal 1.7, 1.8, or maybe sometimes costing a 2 range. It was down to a 1.67, so it was down. That's including all this hype. So if you want to argue, Big E probably actually helped the rating. So if Big E didn't cash in tonight, how low would that rating have dropped with Monday Night Football? Yeah, so right. Big E might have saved their asses. But here's the thing. If it continues to be this bad, when does Vince blame Big E? He's not a draw, and he takes that belt off Big E. So I'm glad for Big E. Let's hope it sticks. But I got this concern that either it's going back to Bobby or it's going to go to somebody else. So never say never. You still may get Bobby versus Brock for the title. But either way, I hope that happens at some point because that would be a fun match to see, no doubt. Especially with the run that Bobby Lashley's been on. He's been stellar. So Orton told them to focus on him. He said all it would take would be one RKO to become the new champion. Big E was excited to cash in on Orton as soon as he did it. Lashley told Orton he would get pummeled tonight and threatened to shove the briefcase up Big E's ass. He did knock the briefcase out of Big E's hand. And they argued back and forth, but Orton laid out Bobby Lashley with an RKO. So this was a better than normal opening Raw segment just due to the drama of the Big E briefcase and stuff. But it's still kind of WWE formulaic Monday Night Raw stuff. But notwithstanding, this was pretty decent. Charlotte Flair told Sarah Schreiber that she didn't get to the top of the business with friends or partners, and Shayna Basler would never get there while being held down by dead weight. Charlotte called herself the best. The ring was her throne, and her reign would last forever. Long live the queen. So this sets up a Raw Women's Championship match here. But before this, there was a video from earlier in the day of Nia Jax confronting Shayna Basler, who was playing with a deck of cards because she's the queen of spades. Basler said she just did what Jax had been doing to her, costing her the title last week, getting up on the aprons. Jax was confused, but wanted them to get back on the same page. But you could clearly tell Jax was not actually believing that. She was going to do the same to Shayna tonight. So that led to the Raw Women's Championship match where Charlotte Flair defeated Shayna Basler. Oh, I'm sorry, this was a non-title match, not the championship match. A championship contenders match, whatever. Even though supposedly Alexa's the number one contender, we're still getting championship contenders. But anyhow. So Nia Jax sauntered out, and the distraction allowed Basler to shove Charlotte into the steel steps, which led to another break. Despite that, Charlotte was back in control when they returned from a break. Basler hit another German suplex, but Charlotte chop blocked her before wrapping her leg in the ropes. Charlotte taunted Nia Jax before heading back in the ring. Basler nailed Charlotte with a knee strike while Jax hopped up on the apron and kind of just drew Shayna's attention, and the distraction allowed Charlotte to hit a big boot for the pinfall win. So distraction finish, same thing. But again, it's going to come down to Nia Jax versus Shayna Baszler here at some point. We broke up the tag team. We got them back together. Now we're breaking them up again. Where this is going, Lord knows where. Yeah, just end this. Stop it. I mean,
turn Shayna back into what she was.
Yes.
Have her challenge Charlotte and beat her.
And for God's sakes, give Shayna Baszler a win. She's not won since January. I get this is the Raw Women's Champion. And to their credit, they didn't pin the Raw Women's Champion this week. I'll call that a little bit of progress here. But at the same time, everybody and their brother knew this was going as soon as it started. Because, I mean, and again, that's not necessarily always a bad thing. But based on what Basler did last week, no one and their brother thought that Nia wasn't going to get involved in here, and the search show she surely did. After the match, Alexa Bliss entered with her doll. This is interesting, and gave a gift to Charlotte Flair. Bliss brought Charlotte the present as a thank you for accepting her title match challenge at Extreme Rules. Charlotte said she doesn't collect gifts, she collects championships. Bliss basically told her to stop taking herself so seriously and accept the gift. The crowd wanted Charlotte to accept it, but she said no. So this led to a yes chant, which I'm surprised they didn't just cut the feed right there because Bryan Danielson's no longer on the show. But Charlotte just instead took the gift really quickly, I think, to kind of stop the crowd from chanting that. So Charlotte finally accepted the gift and made sure the box was not ticking. She said that's a good thing. So nice little line. It wasn't a bomb. Okay, clever. The crowd chanted, "Open it." The gift was a Lily doll dressed as Charlotte Flair, complete with a Raw Women's title around the doll's waist, which I thought was cute. The Bliss said its name was Charlie, and the crowd chanted the name. I love how Brad is just, eating this up like, yeah, just tell me more. This is so awesome. Bliss said even a this was a good line from Bliss too. Said even a narcissistic bitch like Charlotte deserved a friend. So
wow,
got a big pop from the crowd because again, the crowd loves Alexa, regardless of whether or not you like this.
Aggressive though.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, she sold it well. It's like, even a narcissistic bitch like you, I'm sure I'm not as cute as Alexa. No doubt about that.
For sure.
That was actually creepy. But anyhow,
putting the shit, man. I almost get up my cookie.
Yeah, wow. Don't do that. That's not good for the channel. Charlotte said she didn't want the doll and chucked it at Alexa Bliss. Bliss attacked her for, shunning her and gave her a code red. The crowd definitely liked Alexa Bliss here, though. As long as they do this match, in my opinion, without any of that freaky voodoo gimmick stuff, this might actually work. So we'll see what they do. Obviously, I don't think... I don't know, though. Maybe they do put the belt on Alexa Bliss. It's not like they have Charlotte Flair hold titles for very long because they got to pad that number up. So maybe they put the belt on Alexa here. I wouldn't be totally stunned. But we'll see. I mean, at this point, at least, she's kind of over with some of the crowd. So there's that. We'll see what happens. They announced the WWE Draft on October 1st and October 4th. Jinder Mahal and his buddies, this is kind of where we start to get into kind of like, all right, standard Raw stuff, rinse and repeat sort of thing. 6-man tag match, Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders defeat Jinder Mahal and Veer and Shanky in 2.5 minutes. This was over in a very fast hurry here. McIntyre basically won this on his own by fighting everyone off and pinning Shanky after a Claymore kick. So Corey Graves even noted that Ivar didn't even get into the match, so that was interesting too. So it was over so fast, half the Viking Raiders weren't even in the thing. So yeah, we'll move on from that. Nothing much to write home about there. Big E was in the back with Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Woods was pumped up for a cash-in tonight. Big E said that it was even happening in Kingston's hometown, which I wonder if that was done on purpose. Like, Kofi, your hometown. Now you're maybe a good, in a way, a good thing for Kofi, but at the same time, the way they beat Kofi, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. He asked Kingston for advice since he's won the title before. Kingston said he had everything it took and did not need his advice. Also, since you mentioned the pictures side by side there, how long before we get Xavier? And the same thing, you know what I'm saying? And again, Xavier's a guy who I think eventually could get there. They need to build him some more, but he's definitely got the talent. Yeah. But maybe give it a few years. Maybe we'll have the... I don't know what you call that. The triple effect, the triplet. I mean, you can always get that. I mean, cool if they do it. As long as they do it right, fine. Yeah,
you're right. It's that part right there. As long as they do it right,
and if they continue to keep this group together and build it right, yeah, absolutely, no problem with that. Okay, we saw that. They let us know that a clip from Reginald jumping in the ring has over 80 million views on TikTok. Who cares? just okay. In the back, Reginald escaped the 24/7 crew that included Cedric Alexander this week, so sucks to be him. So much for the Hurt business. Those guys. Drake Maverick showed up, and R-Truth told him that his plan did not work. Maverick said it wasn't the fault of the plan, it was the execution. Truth and Akira Tozawa argued whose fault it was, so I don't even know what the plan was. Apparently, whatever it was, it did not work. There's that. Drake
I don't
Maverick,
even think R-Truth knows what the plan was.
Probably not. Yeah, that's probably the comedy of it. Damian Priest did a quick backstage promo saying he gets to do something he's always wanted, face someone he truly admires in Jeff Hardy. Again, he called for an open challenge to his U.S. title here, and Jeff Hardy apparently answered the call. I would care if they hadn't been beating Jeff Hardy for months, and now granted, he beat Karrion Kross, but again, where's that whole, everything the fans were saying, let the story play out. They're building up a story with Jeff Hardy. It'll pay off. No, it hasn't. They dropped that thing so fast. Why you beat Karrion Kross is still a mystery to everybody.
Not really a mystery. They made it plain why they beat him.
Oh, yeah, because they were punishing him, but that's not good narrative-wise. In the narrative, it makes no sense. But and not only that, he's been beating everybody since he lost to him and Keith Lee. And so it's like, why did you beat him in the first place? And Keith Lee's not even on the show. So, again, it's just because they're booking by the seat of their pants, and that's the problem here. Sheamus joined commentary for the upcoming United States Championship Open Challenge. The Damian Priest then defeated Jeff Hardy. Hardy gained control after a break and hit a dive off the second rope for a 2 count. Priest came back with a spinning heel kick for 2, followed by a leg lariat of sorts for 2. Hardy followed with a cradle for a near fall. Priest suddenly hit the reckoning for the pinfall win. The match started off well, but the final moments didn't look so good. At least Jeff Hardy got in a relevant match, but it's just one of those things, again, you've done nothing with the guy outside of that, so it's kind of like, there's no sense for me to care here. Even all respect to Jeff Hardy, though. He's a Hall of Fame talent, and hopefully I know he's talked about how he'd love to hold the Universal title again one more time in his career. I don't think that's happening, Jeff. I think it's kind of time to let that go. But Sheamus attacked both men after the match. After Sheamus got rid of Hardy, Priest knocked him down with a brogue kick. So they're kind of selling the fact that Damian Priest can hit the brogue kick on Sheamus, so which we're going to be getting a rematch of sorts. He's already beaten Sheamus and Drew McIntyre in a triple threat. I guess he didn't pin Sheamus in that match, so I guess that's how they're justifying the Extreme Rules match here. But Sheamus also, interestingly enough, on commentary was still wearing his black mask. It now says Celtic and Warrior underneath both eyes. So they're definitely marketing that. I got a feeling they're going to be selling that in a pro shop, so definitely get your copy of that. Then there was a plug for NXT 2.0, which again we'll be reviewing tomorrow here on the channel with our fantasy fun fact and wrestling guru Mike. I listen to fantasy football stuff all the time, but anyhow, so we'll be getting that going on here. In the back, Nikki. This was an interesting segment. Nikki Ash told Rhea Ripley that they should work on their very own victory celebration because obviously Nikki Ash wants to do this, super brutality gimmick and do this tag team with Rhea Ripley. Ripley wanted to focus on her match against Natalya tonight. Natalya and Tamina showed up, and Natalya called them freaks. They argued until a brawl broke out. Sonya Deville and some officials broke them up. Deville made a match between Tamina and Nikki tonight. But here's the thing: during this brawl, Sonya Deville is breaking up both sides of this, and all of them, especially Sonya Deville, are doing that thing where they're trying to play to the hard camera. They're all looking at the camera like this. They're not looking at each other. They're all like toward the camera. It's like when they're trying to watch the TV at an angle. Really weird. Yeah. Especially Sonya Deville, right in between them. Look right at the camera. It was really strange, but it's just one of those WWE aesthetic stuff. But yeah, it's weird. They announced the signing of, I believe, Olympic gold medalist Gable Steveson, or however you say his name. So a lot of people are assuming he's going to be the next Kurt Angle since he's actually won Olympic gold. But I don't know if he did it with a broken freaking neck, but he's going to probably get a run here at some point. But anyhow. In their locker room, Riddle asked Orton how he planned on holding his 2 belts. Riddle was being annoying, so Orton put on his headphones. Riddle kept talking until Big E sauntered in. Orton got to his feet, but Big E told him not to worry. Big E said he'd be watching tonight's title match very closely, so it was just kind of funny that Riddle was talking and Orton was just like, he started to talk, so he just kind of, one of those deals. So can't blame Randy Orton there.
Today, Satan.
No, he wasn't having it tonight. He had to focus on his upcoming title match. Nikki Ash then defeated Raw Women's or just women's tag team champion. I guess there's no Raw. Tamina, this was weird. Tamina dominated until Nikki hit a tornado DDT for a very sudden pinfall. Tamina, at 2.5, kicked out. There was no doubt about it. The referee counted 3. They even played Tamina's theme music, and the ring announcer announced Tamina as the winner. This was all sorts of screwed up. I don't know if Tamina was supposed to win and they called an audible, if the referee screwed up, but even if the referee screwed up, the back played Tamina's music, and then the ring announcer apparently wasn't paying any attention or just read what was in the script and didn't play along. It was weird, dude. So yeah, but again, we got Nikki Ash and Rhea Ripley basically defeating the women's champions here. So who's the number 1 contender? Nikki and Rhea, or Shotzi and Tegan? Make up your mind, guys. We don't know what's going on here. Natalya and Tamina laid out both Nikki and Rhea Ripley after the match, though. So I guess in a way you keep the champions strong here. I wouldn't call that at all because I don't think these two women have won a match since they won these tag titles. So this is, again, this is the poor booking part of it. I get people love the show, but this is the part I can't understand. Rhea Ripley then defeated Raw Women's Tag Team, or again, Raw Women's Tag Team Champion Natalya. At least this match was a little better, but yeah, it was just Ripley countered a sharpshooter into a schoolboy for a 2 count. Tamina hopped on the apron to distract Ripley, but Nikki ran down at that moment to trip Natalya. Ripley dropped Tamina off the apron while Natalya tried a roll up with her feet on the ropes. Nikki knocked her feet off the ropes and Ripley kicked out. Ripley applied the standing cloverleaf and Natalya tapped out. So again, both lose back to back. So I don't know. Anyway, maybe they'll do a triple threat with these two teams, and I don't know. They said it'd be better than just ignoring the fact that Shotzi and Tegan have beat them as well, but it sounds like that's what they're going to do. So we got that leads to the third hour here. Schreiber backstage tried interviewing Charlotte, but Charlotte blew by her upon seeing the Charlie doll sitting on the equipment box. Charlotte told Schreiber that she planned on destroying Bliss and Lily. Charlotte tossed Charlie in the trash. So how dare you throw a gift away, Charlotte? That's seriously. Where are your manners? I mean, seriously. I mean, Alexa gave that to you out of the goodness of her heart.
Out of nothing but love, affection, and caring. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
shat upon it like some common miscreant.
Yeah, how dare you? Yeah. So after that, we had the 8-man tag match. AJ Styles, Omos, Mace, and T-Bar defeated Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, Mustafa Ali, and Mansoor. So everyone traded moves until Ali tagged himself in and gave Styles a tornado DDT. Omos tagged in, and the crowd buzzed. Not sure why, other than the fact he's just a big dude. Everything I've seen of him, I don't think he's that good of a wrestler. Do you feel the same way? Or
Omos?
Omos.
I still feel like there's a lot of work he can do.
Yeah, he's very green still. He's got that great Khali going about him a little bit. Maybe a little bit more agile, but he's still kind of, to me. Omos knocked down Ali before easily tossing aside Xavier Woods, Kingston, and Mansoor. Omos dropped Ali with a 3-slam for the pinfall win. So this is basically just kind of highlighting Omos. He's a big monster. He could beat all these guys. Great, but I just don't know. I get it's a big guy. Vince loves his big dudes. But at the same time, he's not a good wrestler. So if you like him, great, but it's not doing it for me. I like guys who can actually have good matches outside of just, oh my gosh, he's so big. That sort of thing. So what? Kevin Patrick tried interviewing Bobby Lashley about Big E. As he warmed up in the back, MVP told Patrick that Big E was more of an annoyance than a distraction. MVP said Orton would join Kingston, McIntyre, and Goldberg as men who failed miserably to take on the almighty Bobby Lashley. Big E approached and reminded them that he planned on cashing in tonight. So, boy, they were desperately trying to get you to stick around to the end of this show, as much as Big E was interspersed during this. They're like, all right, he was at the beginning of the show, middle of the show, 3/4 of the way through the show. Don't forget where he's cashing in. So again, popping a rating. You can't say they weren't at this point because it's so obvious. Then we had Doudrop defeated Eva Marie. She finally got a match with Eva Marie after they built it a few weeks ago, didn't deliver. 2 minutes, though. Eva Marie raked Doudrop's eyes and tried a schoolboy, but Doudrop didn't budge and even noticed what Marie was trying to do. Doudrop followed with a senton and running crossbody for the pinfall win. Enough said here. Let's move on.
Yes.
Karrion Kross did a backstage promo. He introduced himself and used the Sean O'Haire line, "I'm not telling you anything you don't already know," quote unquote. He spoke about his victims and planned on hurting everyone here until there's no one left, and he gets everything he wants. He's not here to get lost in the shuffle. Everyone will fall in prey. Hate to tell you, you're kind of already lost in the shuffle. But yeah. Next week, it's Shayna Basler versus Nia Jax on Raw, so we're going to get that match there. Yay. Bobby Lashley, then in the main event, defeated Randy Orton to retain his WWE Championship here. This was weird because it came down to the fact that MVP was on the outside. Randy Orton ran out to the outside, RKO'd MVP. When he did that, Riddle laid down next to him, kind of mocking him that he got knocked out by the RKO. So that was kind of funny. But then Randy Orton ran back in the ring. As soon as he slid in, got nailed by Big E, and he lost. So good job, Randy. Took your eye off the ball. You lose the title match. Good job. So that, of course, led to a beatdown with Lashley attacking Riddle and drove him into the post before slamming Orton through the announce table. But I don't know if this was by design or not, but as the table collapsed when he threw Randy Orton through it, a piece hit Bobby Lashley in the shin, and he came up limping. So he puts Randy Orton through the table, hurts himself. That brings out Big E to take advantage of a hurt Bobby Lashley. So, to me, and of course, then Big E, hands over the briefcase. They go to commercial break, by the way, after he hands in the briefcase. So, Bobby's got all this time, first of all, which is odd. The announcer said Lashley was refusing to defend the title because of his leg injury. Big E slapped Lashley in the face, so Lashley tackled him. They rang the bell. And, of course, it basically just boiled down to Big E hit the big ending after he slipped. But Lashley slipped out and hit a spear for a near fall. And then, of course, he hit the big ending for the win. But to me, it was like, why couldn't you have booked this a little differently? Because if you're going to tell the story that Bobby Lashley's got a gripe that he didn't, he got attacked while he was hurt, right? Which is all what all the excuses are. Why couldn't you, since you knew Big E was cashing it anyway, he flat out told everybody, why didn't you make this a triple threat?
Yeah.
Randy Orton could have took this pinfall. Big E didn't lose the belt. He would have had more of an argument than he did with a supposed injury that kind of looked wonky because he hurt himself. And granted, he would have lost the triple threat still, even though if he didn't get pinned. So we've always talked about that. But at the same time, it would have made a little more sense to book it that way and Orton takes a pin and Big E beats him. I guess they wanted to make it a little more legitimate. I guess pinning Lashley, I get that's part of it. But it just, to me, it was weird from the timing of it to the booking of it. But at the same time, the celebration was great. The crowd went nuts. Kingston and Woods ran out to celebrate. They all hugged and posed with the belt. So, yes, the crowd popped for this. Absolutely. No doubt about it. As we mentioned, happy for Big E. And let's hope they don't ruin this. But we'll see how it goes. So, any other thoughts on the Big E stuff?
No, I'm big. Other than congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm super stoked that Big E won it. I think given, like I said, the right time, I think he'll be a great champion.
Question 2, I just thought about this too. With the draft coming up, now that Big E's champion, and I'm assuming Roman's going to hold the belt for a while, do you switch champions on different shows at this point? Raw is tanking in the ratings a little bit. Do you make that move?
I should.
You think so? I mean, I don't know if they will, but that was just a thought that kind of popped into my head while we were talking about the Big E stuff.
I would.
It would make some sense, and maybe Big E being the new guy could still hold over on SmackDown. If it drops a little, SmackDown could maintain it a little more than Raw is right now. Maybe that's a move they pull, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. But, of course, a lot of things have to move over with Roman if that's the case to make some of that work with the Usos and all that. Yeah, but we'll see what they do. But, yeah, definitely happy for Big E. Let's hope they do well, and let's hope it sticks. Take the ball, strap the rocket to Big E, make it work. That's what you need to do. All right, AEW Dynamite, last show of the night here. We'll get through this one here kind of quickly. We're already an hour in. So.
It itches.
Personal problems,
sorry.
man.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It brought a little bit of spontaneity to the show. No doubt about it. Yeah. By all means, more of that.
I'm sitting here on camera like, oh god, it's
there. Good. Just dig deep, pick a winner, brother.
Yeah. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. How to follow that up? The show opened up with CM Punk. He made his entrance to crowd going crazy again. Dove into the crowd. One dude literally caught CM Punk. He dove into the crowd, but one dude had to kind of catch CM Punk here. Luckily for him, he didn't fall on his backside, so he made it work. But I
got one complaint about this show, and I'll talk about it when I get to it.
All right, well, maybe I share that. We'll see what happens. But then Punk did join the commentary booth. So again, it's one of those things you don't need Punk on every show, but but they did a segment later, which I thought made some sense.
But at the same time, it's like, why though?
Yeah, I mean, well, because they announced the match finally for Rampage next week. But other than that, but at the same time, it was nice to see Punk on the losing side of things.
You could have got there elsewhere.
You could have, maybe.
The thing is, too, like, I don't want this to be a thing that's always happening because of whatever reason.
They're trying to capitalize on the popularity of Punk, Cole, Bryan Danielson, and Ruby. Ruby wasn't on the show tonight, but she'll be on Rampage. Well, no, maybe not. She may not be on there until next week. So, but the three guys for sure, they're trying to get them on every show. I understand that because that's what people want to see. But at the same time, if you don't have anything for him to do, like Punk in this case, commentary is good because he did a little bit on Rampage.
Overexposure too, man.
That's true. You're not wrong. If you got anything really big for him to do promos and stuff, you don't have to do every week. The Bryan Danielson stuff they did. I get what they were doing.
And the Cole stuff was fine.
Yeah, Cole was good too. Yeah.
But like the first part, like Shivani was there. Why wasn't he on commentary?
No, Shivani was on commentary. Well, was he not at all?
No, he was not.
He was at times, I think.
It was Cole, was it?
Yeah, because I think Excalibur, JR, and Shivani at times. I don't know if Shivani was on there at all times, but he was there. Yeah.
It was Excalibur, JR, and CM Punk.
I think Shivani was there at times, but not the whole show though, because he was doing some interview stuff too. So yeah, you're probably right about that partially, but yeah, I mean you're right. The overexposure, you got to be careful with that. But at the same time, in this case, they did the introduce. Everybody popped for. He was on commentary for the most part of the show, so he really wasn't in the spotlight. So there's that. They kind of pulled back on that, but they did have to set up this thing. So I get that too. But
yeah, point taken though. Like I would have. I'll get to that when we get to it.
Okay. So the show opened up with the debut of Adam Cole in a wrestling ring on AEW. He defeated Frankie Kazarian.
Kazarian looked good though.
Yeah, because they both look pretty good in this match. I'm not gonna lie, it was a good opener. But yeah, Kazarian. I mean, they talked about, and Punk even mentioned how he's been in the wrestling business as long as Punk had, without the 7-year hiatus. So that was interesting that he put him over there. Which of course, even CM Punk on commentary said he's actually scouting Adam Cole. So I'm sure that's something that we're going to see one day or another. They traded forearms. The crowd was well behind Adam Cole here because when Adam Cole came out, by the way, he almost got a bigger pop than Punk did. Heel at all, but he got in that ring, and when he did the Adam Cole Bay spot, that place was loud as crap, bruh.
That sucks, dude.
Because he's the heel?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of the Becky Lynch syndrome. It's it's just, we've talked about here, that's the way it is, unfortunately. People got people they like, and no matter what you do. He's got to do something dastardly. That's what he's got to do.
It makes Kazarian seem irrelevant.
Well, I think everybody knew he was probably taking the loss here, but
which again shouldn't be something you shouldn't be thinking about that. You know what I'm saying? Your whole purpose is you despise the elite so much because they've done everything possible to make you hate them.
Right.
So the arrogance, the way they talk, all that shit. So for Adam Cole, somebody who people were expecting to come and he shows up and then he joins. These dickwads, you got to be like, yo, I like you, but your choice is terrible. And they're not going to get that. They're not going to get that at all with Cole.
Right.
And it puts you as a babyface are in a shitty position.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and obviously you're not going to beat Cole in his first match. I get that too. I'd rather he win this match than maybe against Jungle Boy later. But we'll see if they pull that trigger.
No, man. I think that's just a lost Jungle Boy gonna have to eat.
Maybe. And if that's the case, fine. I mean, again, it's not like Adam Cole's a nobody. I know Mike had talked to us a little bit about NXT on our offline chat, talking about what happened with the LA Knight character at the beginning of the show, which we'll talk about tomorrow. But he's talking like this. How is that instance different than if, Punk comes in and beats Darby Allin? To me, it's different just because Punk is not a nobody. The guy who beat LA Knight was kind of a nobody. At least to most people. I didn't know who the guy was because commentary didn't tell us.
Here's the thing, too. The only reason people know who Adam Cole is isn't for the reason that you think. It's not because he was a huge name all over the place.
No.
Like, he only became that huge, whether you want to believe it or not, because he went to NXT.
Well, true, but people know him from that. That's my point.
So, but if you take that away and he just showed up from New Japan, nobody knows who the fuck Adam Cole is.
Everybody knows who Suzuki is. This crowd knows who he is.
That's because but that's
this crowd's going to know.
Suzuki is a legend in New Japan. I mean, you got to think that's Suzuki. If what's his name? Loose Explosion showed up.
Yeah, I can tell you who that was.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, to your credit though, I mean, the general audience, the casual fan who doesn't follow wrestling as intently may not know who Adam Cole is. Especially if they just watch the main roster, who I believe he only had maybe one, maybe two appearances on the main roster. So to your credit, that's a valid argument. Obviously,
gather it that far.
I feel differently because I watch these other things like the NXT. But so yeah, maybe you may have a point there. But then again, they didn't bring him in right away to beat. I mean, they beat Darby with Punk, but even most people who watch the main roster know who Punk is. Yeah, Adam Cole, they beat Kazarian. They didn't beat.
Which sucks for Kazarian.
It does, but Kazarian's there for that purpose.
They sit here listing off the tenure that Kazarian has had.
They were. That's because they're trying to get Adam Cole over. Because by listing that off, it puts more credibility on Adam Cole to beat a guy that tenured. But again, Kazarian's there to lose because that's his role. That's what he's in the company.
Yeah.
Well, and he's a veteran. He's probably at that stage of his career where he's fine with that. So that's why they did it, in my opinion. But you're not wrong. It maybe in a lot of people's eyes, Adam Cole's not as a well-known commodity. But I just feel like
I know who the fuck Adam Cole is.
Right. And don't get me wrong, the Rick Steiner's son on Braun Breaker or whatever they're calling him. And to your credit, Agogo's a terrible name too. But Braun Breaker, yeah, it's like BB. They love to do it would be like,
I hate that.
Like if Randy Orton was a NXT developmental talent back now, he'd probably be called Randall Wrecker. Like it would be something like that.
Don't worry. With Vince's track record, we would just be either calling him Braun or Breaker in a month.
Probably. They'll probably cut one of the names off because they don't like people with two names on the main roster sometimes. But surprised Rollins isn't just called Rollins at this point.
But too, also, if it's that dumb, I doubt it.
I don't know. We've got dolls. We got Eva Marie in the ring. I mean, don't put it past them. But anyhow, but yeah, this match was actually really entertaining here. Cole
it was a solid ass match.
Yeah, great opener for Dynamite. No doubt about it. Adam Cole looked just like Adam Cole in the NXT. Hit the Panama Sunrise, followed by an exposed knee strike to the back of Kazarian's head. It was formerly called the Last Shot. I'm not sure exactly what they're going to call it here at AEW due to copyrights or whatnot. We'll see if they change it to something else. They still haven't named the Black Mass yet either. They just called it the spinning heel kick, but so they may just call it the running knee strike. But we'll see if they change that up.
Daniel Bryan does.
Oh, the running
knee strike.
I can't hardly hear you.
The running knee strike is the same move that Bryan did. The Last Shot it's more like a.
It's almost like a Shining Wizard, sort of.
Yeah,
but it's from the backside.
Shining Wizard meets a Kinshasa.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see that. Yeah, which I mean, it's a cool move, especially when he exposes that knee. Kind of gives that extra bit of realism to it, like he's hitting him with the bone instead of the pad. So yeah, definitely a good match here. After the match, Adam Cole invited the crowd for story time with Adam Cole. When he said that, I kind of go, "Uh-oh, are they setting up Punk?" Because Punk is usually story. You want to hear a story, and he sits down. So maybe nothing there, but we'll see.
Well, he's been saying this since he came.
Oh, has he? Okay, well, he said that hope is a dangerous thing and that the locker room hopes they can keep up with the elite, but that's not going to happen. The three guys who have gotten under his skin since arriving at his short tenure here are Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Jungle Boy. Smart man. He didn't mention Marco Stunt because he knows he'd be in trouble with Marco Stunt.
Sure.
He's scared of Marco.
You don't want that smoke, bro.
Right. He challenged them to take on Cole and the Young Bucks in a 6-man tag at the Grand Slam Rampage show, which will be 2 hours. So I thought at first he screwed up. I thought he was supposed to say Dynamite Grand Slam, but then they announced later in the show that they were doing a Rampage Grand Slam too. So I was like, okay, so he did get it right. He said the Super Click is back, baby, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. I'll give credit here. I like the 6-man tag idea. First of all, I think that'll be a great match. Second of all, he immediately called out Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Christian Cage. No slouches here on AEW. A lot of times, especially in WWE, you will see these heels be the cowards and not want to face anybody. This heel stepped up to the plate and said, we want the best. I like that.
But here's the thing. Also, those guys can do that. Because, again...
Still can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It sucks because what sucks about that is all three of those guys can lose this match. Let's just be honest.
Well, yeah, they probably will. I'm sure the Elite will win this. Yeah,
which sucks because you were on this trajectory with Jungle Boy. He literally went toe to toe with Kenny Omega, one of probably Jungle Boy's best fucking matches. And
it's interesting.
Christian Cage just fought and lost against
Kenny.
Kenny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they pinned Lucha here. You could do that.
Obviously, that's.
I think that's probably
but at
the
same time, it's still shit though, dude.
Well, what if they pin one of the Bucks out? They don't have the belts. You could.
I mean, you could.
I mean, they don't have anything major. I mean, granted, and you could kind of play the storyline.
You could have Jungle Boy roll up Adam Cole, like Adam Cole's
could
not going
set
for
up
the
that
title
feud.
right now.
You could,
yeah.
And Adam Cole just got a win, so
it only looks good on Jungle Boy's part, especially if this is going to further a feud between Jungle Boy and Adam Cole,
which obviously is where they're going.
If you get Jungle Boy to roll him up,
I think that's your Full Gear match
because that surprise win, and he's because Adam Cole has already stated that I'm better than you, in the sense of you don't know who you fucking with. This is a different breed. You know what I'm saying? Right. Comparatively to whatever you've gone up against, I'm not that. You know what I mean? Right. And if Jungle Boy gets this surprise roll up win over Adam Cole, it's that thing where, because Adam Cole is another guy that has great facial expressions in the ring.
Right.
If he got hit by Jungle Boy with a surprise roll up 1, 2, 3, the look on Adam Cole's face would play miles in a story. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's he just got overconfident, and that's the whole thing with the Elite, to get overconfident, get cocky, and then boom,
right,
you lose. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where all right, and then it would go a long way to set up a storyline for Cole and Jungle Boy.
They may do that. It just depends on whether or not they want to beat Cole yet. But I don't know. But there's also, if you pin the Bucks, I mean, this whole thing has got a lot of different ways you could do it, really, with the Luchasaurus taking a loss, or you could beat the Bucks.
You can't keep giving losses here.
I agree.
Jurassic Express. I couldn't think of their.
Well,
I was about to say Dino Express.
It depends on what you want to get. Do you want the crowd to go home happy? Do you want to set up the feud, or do you want to tell a story where the
feud?
Well, yeah, I'm sure you're probably right. But at the same time, if you do the thing with the Bucks, since they just lost the tag titles, you could also set up the storyline. We've lost our edge. We're losing now. You could tell that story. But yeah, you're probably right. It's going to be Cole and Jungle Boy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what they're doing. It just depends on how they book it. Yeah.
It has no impact if he rolls up one of the Bucks. Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Christian or Lucha could take that.
Well, we're assuming they beat Cole here, but yes,
I'm assuming they beat Cole.
Yeah.
Or but then it's the downside is even if you pin Luchasaurus in this, dude, you could get so much more mileage out of Luchasaurus something.
And not only that, if you pin Cole here, Cole is clearly not challenging for the title anytime soon because Kenny Omega has it. So beating Cole, if you were to pin him with Jungle Boy, like a roll-up like a situation like you said here to get the shocking victory, it's not going to hurt Adam Cole.
Isn't the roll-up like a thing Jungle Boy does?
Maybe. But, I mean, sure. I mean, you could do it, absolutely. I mean, we criticize WWE for doing it too much, but sparingly, it's fine.
I do believe it's like a legitimate move. It's you know what I mean? Of his. It's,
I mean, I'd be fine with it. I mean, like I said, it ain't going to hurt Adam Cole. In my eyes, and I'm sure a lot of fans, because Adam Cole is perceived as a big deal to some fans, but as we said, the casual fan maybe not. But they're going to love it if Jungle Boy beats him. So I don't think it's going to hurt Adam Cole if they did go that route. So that may be what they do. If that's the case, somewhere.
Jungle up somewhere.
I mean, they kind of teased it with Jungle Boy cutting a promo for once, which was interesting too, by the way.
Yeah,
he got cut off quickly.
He got tied up pretty
right,
quick,
and then Christian owed that, which we'll get to in just a second here. But yeah, Christian laid down the smackdown on that one. Yeah. Up next, we had a video package recap the history between AEW Tag Champs Lucha Brothers and Butcher and the Blade. Apparently, they will have a tag title match this week on Rampage. So, okay, but this should be good. But obviously, Lucha Brothers are probably going to retain. But again, it can still be a great match, no doubt about that. Fuego, this was interesting. Fuego del Sol and Sammy Guevara were backstage. Fuego has a new contract and a new car to go with it. I guess he's putting that contract money to good use. He put the car on the line for another shot at Miro's TNT Championship. Poor Fuego is going to lose that car. Are you stupid, kiddo?
Even if I knew 100% I was winning, I'm not putting my car on.
No, brother. And even CM Punk on commentary after this interview was like, I got to teach some of these young kids something because that's not smart.
Something about gambling.
Yeah, it's like, brother. So yeah, Puck's like, that's a bad idea. But yeah, I mean, kids got a lot of heart, but maybe not as much in the brain department. I don't. We'll see what happens here. But what are the odds he beats Miro for the TNT title?
That's what I was about to say.
What if Sammy helps him win?
It would be crazy especially if it's Sammy, I would love to see a program between Miro and Sammy.
I'd be down for that. Yeah, I mean, Sammy.
And then
they got to get him something
Miro on his road, back to the title, just destroying people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, an angry Miro is bad for everybody. So,
and then you could bring Lana in.
Yeah. That I don't know. That's got to be coming up at some point soon here.
And help push that narrative.
Yeah. MJF came out next, flanked by Wardlow. He seemed to be in a much better mood tonight than he was after he got beat by Jericho. Now, we're going to talk about this because this.
Yeah, because I got something to say about this.
I understand
it, but at the same time, like, dude, you do too much. You know what I mean? Like, and I get there's a thin line.
He's trying to go for that deep, and he got the heat, no doubt about it. But we'll talk about it.
Too far sometimes.
Yeah, he insulted New Jersey a lot. He's been made aware that his words from last week may have offended some people, but he doesn't care with a big smile. MJF's the salt of the earth and a religious man, which is okay. So he's going to have a conversation with the late great Brian Pillman. Now, if this was WWE, I'd be crapping all over this because it's tasteless. And I still feel it's pretty tasteless. The only reason I feel it kind of works is because it's MJF. Because he will. I'm not saying they should have done it. I'm not saying that because obviously I probably wouldn't have crossed that line. But MJF if anybody, he's the one who would cross that line. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying they should have mentioned this the way they did, but they did it. But again, we've talked about how Randy Orton said Eddie's in hell, and that's horrible. Agreed. I'm not going to dispute that. So this may be crossing the line.
Same thing about Brian Pillman.
I agree. When I saw this, I go, ooh, But at the same time, don't get me wrong. MJF made it entertaining, but it was like,
I had to explain to my 7-year-old kid
who
he's talking to and why. And I'm like, dude,
I understand.
I get it from a standpoint of wrestling. Yeah, that's that heat. And the thing was, I praised you last week for not saying. For not bringing this man's dad into this.
Right.
Because anybody knows the story of, like, what happened with Brian Pillman, like, where he was, that headspace he was in. Like, that's a tragic situation.
Fill me in a little bit. Did he commit suicide or no?
Yes.
I don't remember. I know he definitely know he had an untimely death.
Because I had to look up Brian Pillman. Well, I didn't look him up because I didn't know who he was.
Okay, well.
I looked him up to show Jackson a picture of Brian.
And he looks just like his son. But while you're looking that up, I'll tell what happened here.
And the shirt that he was wearing
is
in one of the photos of Brian Pillman, a promo shirt of Brian Pillman. It's the same shirt. I don't know if it's the same shirt. But I want to say his sister or caretaker or whatever was wearing it last week. I can't remember. But anyway, as you look at that up, I'll talk about the promo here. MJF addressed Pillman as if he were in hell. He said, I want to talk to Brian. So he looked up to the heavens. Then he goes, oh, who the heck am I kidding? Then he started pounding on the mat with his foot and said, hey, Brian, yo. So it's like clearly indicating that he was in hell. It's like, so again, if we're going to get on to WWE for doing that, I want to get onto that here. No doubt about it. I mean, don't get me wrong. MJF sold it like the uber mega douchebag he is. So I get it. But if you're going to get on to like guys like Max Caster for saying stuff a little over the line, maybe you pull this one back. I'm not, But anyway, he had a heart attack. He didn't kill himself.
Heart attack. Okay. He said Pillman was a legend, but his son is the lame excuse for a legendary pedigree. He said, "quote Tell your son I'm going to massacre him. The fans can chant all they want, but I'm better than you and you." And that's when Brian Pillman Jr.'s music played because he had heard enough at this point, rightfully so. Now again, I'm hoping that at least they cleared this with Brian Pillman Jr. I'm sure they did.
I'm 100% sure they cleared it, but not only with Brian Pillman, but with Brian Pillman's
family. Yeah.
Because you got to think like you don't think you could just say something like that and then like the rest of his family not know you're going to say something like that, and them be cool with it. You know what I'm saying?
At the same time, well, I'm not defending what was said because obviously it's going to get some backlash because of the Eddie thing and with Randy and all that stuff at one point. But if the family obviously this is a show. Everybody. At least most people realize this is scripted. The family knows it's scripted. They know MJF didn't mean it.
But he doesn't help it.
Right. And the perception is what it is. But again, that's where I'm at. I'm at a hard place here between Rock because I get it's probably a line that you shouldn't cross, but at the same time, MJF is doing it, and we know how big of a dirtbag he is, or at least what he's portraying.
But this goes.
Yeah.
But there, I get.
It's weird.
There's a certain thing is blurring the lines of reality in wrestling, and skewing the lines of reality, and then stepping out of the line.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And MJF does this thing to where there are times he walks that thin line between stepping out and skewing the line.
Right.
You know, like the shit that, you know, with him and LaGreca. That's skewing the line.
With his wife and all that stuff. Which, by the way, Dave LaGreca has got a great, feud going on with Thunder Rosa right now, which is great, by the way. But anyhow, with Thunder Rosa being in his house, sitting in his chair, attacking LaGreca on Busted Open as they're filming the show. So that's some entertaining stuff too. So go check that out. But anyhow,
you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. But there's just certain shit you don't.
Yeah, and I'm not going to begrudge anybody who says it's bad or MJF pulled it off well. I fall somewhere in the middle on it, but I agree it's probably a line you should cross.
He'll be on Twitter.
Oh yeah, and
he'll get amplified even more to where now he'll say some shit to really cross the line, but nobody checks him on that.
Agreed. And it's almost like MJF has carte blanche, which it brings me to like, when is MJF going to cross in today's society? I'm surprised no one's come down on him already, like wanted to cancel.
But that's
his
only
ass.
A matter of time situation.
You would think.
If you keep doing that shit, so then if let's say he does this shit right, and now AEW is the one that's got to pay the price for it because like you let him do it, you made it seem like it was cool for him to do. Right. Now what?
Well, that's always the whole, well, it's a show. I get it too. But yeah, I mean, the stuff he says, the one thing he said on Twitter, like I've told this story to you. I don't know if I mentioned it on the channel or not. When the little girl who had a MJF dress on, kind of like the color of his scarf, and it said, "I hate MJF" on it, and she was flipping off the camera, and they sent it to MJF. MJF replied, "Is it too late to abort?" Like,
there's shit like that.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. He's definitely crossing lines, and he's not afraid to do it. He's not ashamed of doing it.
You punished, what's his name, for what he said. You know what I'm saying? In that rap song. I forget what the hell it was.
Oh, Max Caster, for saying some
Max
stuff.
Caster.
But like, again,
You just let MJF escape with the shit that he does? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
You can't keep playing favorites here. Like, I get it, but at the same time, like I said, I know wrestling.
Just because MJF is more over, it's okay for him. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like I said, I personally, I enjoyed the whole idea of MJF being a total douche. It's not afraid to show it. I get all that, but at what point do you got to draw that line
of living the gimmick and then going too far?
Yeah.
Eventually, and I hate to say this, but there are some people in this world, especially the way things are going now in this world, who eventually will call him out on that shit and then test everything that he says.
And I don't want to get to a point where MJF needs to be fired.
End well, with a situation like that, when you start putting people's lives at risk because you can't control your mouth or you can't let the gimmick go for 30 seconds to explain, hey, look, I get that what I'm doing is upsetting you, but at the end of the day, realize this is a character. This is what I do.
Right, and it's a fine line, like you said. The character is great. I love the character the way it is, how it does not, care. But at the same time,
you have to get that point across too. Like, it's a character.
Yeah,
I'm not actually.
And that's the thing. MJF does not ever act like it's a character when he's on, signings or whatever at conventions and stuff. He's playing the character. As you should. And I wish more wrestlers would do that. Be more in character in kayfabe instead of dropping the character and acting like a normal human being. I love that MJF stays like that, just like the Undertaker used to do. He would never break kayfabe. But when you do that with a character like MJF, people are at least his, people who know AEW know the gimmick, so they love going up to him to sign their autograph, and they love that he's calling them fat pigs or ugly. So that's part of it. That's part of the charm of it if you can take the joke. But there's going to be some people who cannot take the joke.
And like I said,
so
the way the world is,
I know cancel culture is a real thing. I don't always agree with it for sure.
Cancel culture. Think about the shit that's been happening in the world today. If somebody takes offense to what he says and goes overboard with it because they don't have that distinction, because he doesn't make that distinction,
I know that's why I'm of two minds of it. I see the why and I see the so it's just take it for what you will here, but we'll see if they pull back on that a little bit. Well, it'll be interesting to see what the reaction was to this
that
tonight.
Crowd shit on him so hard because
and he got nuclear heat.
It is a show. It is part of this, and they know this.
They know
that shit hits a chord with some people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And that's what they were going for, or at least he was going for. And he got it. But at the same time, whether it's a good thing, like I said, I can't wait to see the reaction the next few days to this promo to see if they call him out just like they did Randy Orton. And of course, we don't know if they got Vicky Guerrero's or Chavo Guerrero's permission. I want to say at the time maybe the report was they didn't. But I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Could be dead wrong. But that may be the difference here. But at the same time, you gotta be careful.
May be okay with it, but you got this is from
it's more than that.
Your fan standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's touchy. It's touchy. So they're definitely taking a risk.
When he doesn't make that distinction and somebody else makes it for him, it doesn't end well.
I agree. Well, anyway, the rest of this kind of finished up. Brian Pillman's music played. He ran out. MJF directed Wardlow to run interference on the ramp, but as soon as he sent Wardlow out of the outside, I knew Pillman was coming into the ring around Wardlow. Pillman had scouted, ran in from behind with a chair. Wardlow ran in and took the chair from Pillman, which is funny because as Wardlow was distracted, MJF is cowering in the corner like a good heel should. It was great. It was entertaining there. Pillman starts Wardlow with a big slap to the face and baited him to the outside, regaining possession of the chair and chasing the two heels off, setting up their match. I believe it. Can't remember when they said it was. We'll probably sure get to it, but it's coming up here either this week or next week at Grand Slam. So we're getting that one-on-one match for sure. So we'll be interested to see where they go with that. If they put over Brian Pillman Jr. or if MJF gets the win, we'll see. This is a spot where I thought Christian Cage really did a great promo. Christian Cage and Jurassic Express were backstage. Jungle Boy started to cut a promo on Adam Cole. Said he had better friends and better hair, but that's kind of where it kind of stopped. Christian disagreed with that and saying the Bucks are good enough friends to save Cole from developmental, throwing him a lifeline. Great line. Nice little play in on those of you who know the ins and outs of the NXT developmental program and all that stuff. Since they're used to losing Wednesday Night Wars, let's add Friday to that list. So people are going to criticize AEW for talking WWE again, I'm sure. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem. If WWE wants to start talking AEW, go for it. I want to see it. But I get people want to say WWE, AEW needs to keep WWE out of their mouth, so I'm sure that'll be another topic of debate here. Yeah. Jungle Boy then accepted the challenge, and Luchasaurus growled. So we're getting that 6-man on next week's Rampage Grand Slam. So yeah, they announced Rampage Grand Slam will be 2 hours. So we'll get that. We'll get that 2 hours next week. Then we had FTR. Good to see FTR still wrestling. So I guess that whole thing was just a gimmick after the injury to Cash Wheeler. So it sounds like they're not retiring. So that's good. FTR defeated Dante Martin and Matt Sydal, which I thought was a fun match. These two teams actually did a great job. FTR, dude, they're one of the great tag teams, man.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, Dante and Matt Sydal made them look good here, but the FTR don't need them to look good for them, but they definitely helped them here. Dax baited Martin into an attack from Cash Wheeler. Looked like Dante Martin was going to take on the FTR, 2-on-1 here, but he tried to fight both men off, but eventually ran right into the big rig. I thought it was a nice, clever finish because they were going on commentary. Oh, he can't take on two men. Maybe he can. And then as soon as he started to, big rig, game over. So I kind of like the ending there for sure, but definitely a good win for FTR. When the pinnacle music hits at the end of it, of course, it's got that old Four Horsemen vibe to it. I just look at like Dax and Cash, and I think of Tully and Arn. I just or the Blanchards. It just evokes that old emotion with the theme music. Sounds like the Four Horsemen. I really like it. So I'm hoping we'll see FTR. We're going to see next week on their big shows as well. Then we get Minoru Suzuki and Lance Archer address the Suzuki incident, which I guess is. Suzuki felt like his music didn't play it all out all the way through. I don't recall if it did or not. Maybe it did not, and I guess he felt insulted by that. So
wasn't it? That wasn't it at all.
I don't know what. So no. I don't know what they're talking about here. This is something I think was discussed.
He doesn't need. It's part of the story.
Okay, well that's fine. Where AEW cut off Suzuki's theme song before the climax, which okay,
no,
whatever.
Full entrance of Suzuki. Suzuki's just saying this, because he lost.
To have a beef. Okay, well,
that's all it is.
Okay, well,
he's saying that they disrespected him, and it's America, essentially.
So don't disrespect us. Come over here.
Yeah, and that's all it is. It's just part of the story.
Nothing wrong with that. Archer said that Jon Moxley had an unfair hometown advantage. Sorry, Renee. He's not doing anything, I promise. They will take on Moxley and Kingston next week in New York City. Bro, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up, but don't worry. It's all good. So, yeah, I can't wait for that tag team match. I think that'll be good. Suzuki Gun.
Try to just shimmy your way out of that. You literally just said a man was cheating.
Unfair. My bad. I'm going to own that one. All right. The lights went out in the building, leading to Malachi Black's entrance.
That was dope, by the way.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. They just did it, and all of a sudden, boom, here we go. And not only that, with this entrance, the crowd just gets silent. Mm-hmm. They let it play out. They don't it adds an element to it. He starts cutting his promo with members of the House of Black, please rise, he said. We have an enemy in our midst. That's when the camera cut to actress Rosario Dawson at ringside. Ahsoka Tano herself from the Mandalorian series shows up here. Of course, she's been in a lot of other things too, but I'm a Star Wars geek, so I kind of popped for this here. She was wearing some Cody Rhodes merch. Is she on that show that Cody is on, that he took some time off for? I don't know if she is or not. I don't follow it, but
probably good friends with Brandy.
Yeah, that could be too. That's probably true, but I don't know the full relationship there. But anyhow, she stepped into the ringside area, which is interesting. They just kind of let a fan walk in.
She got in it, dude. Like,
yeah, I mean,
no hesitation.
Yeah, and then Black, of course, got to the outside, took his hood off, and was about to attack her, but they show Cody Rhodes making his way down the, kind of like the old Shield way, kind of like down the, audience ramp there, the stairs. And, of course, that kind of distracted Black, and when Black's back was turned to Rosario Dawson, Rosario attacked Black, jumping on his back, trying to choke him out a little bit or whatever, kind of just fighting him a little bit. And, of course, by that time, Cody ran down there, and that's when Aleister Black very kind of lightly kind of chucked her aside a little bit. I think she kind of jumped off a little bit.
So I said to Miranda while it was happening, he tried so hard not to hurt that woman.
Right, and obviously so. She's been, kind of a budding actress, especially in the Star Wars world. But she's been in the Daredevil series, all the
he's
all that
also
stuff.
Not going to try to hurt her.
No, of course not. It was supposed to look, and it looked fine.
To me, it was just funny to see because it was like he was doing everything he could. Like as she's on his back, trying to get a hold of him, and he's like maneuvering her over to where she's, what I mean, putting her in place. And then when Cody comes in, he like turns his body, leans down so she can fall off of him.
Right, and she did a pretty good job of falling off, making it look pretty decent. And then of course Cody come in, and they ended up in a big brawl here into the crowd and all that stuff. Even as they were leaving up the same steps, I think that Cody came down in. Malachi Black took a beer from one of the fans and shoved it in his face. So it was a nice. Of course, the guy handed him the beer, kind of like what they tried to hand to CM Punk, but the guy obviously forgot that CM Punk was straight edge. He doesn't drink. Punk just like, what the hell? But like, bro, do you know me at all? But so yeah, this is a good brawl, I thought, but definitely leading to the Cody match that I know you weren't really thrilled to see.
But I mean, losing, then fine.
I mean, we'll see what they do. Again, it's a lot of those things, especially like the 6-man with the Jungle Express and Adam Cole and stuff. It's AEW so far, with minor exceptions, haven't really let me down. So I'm waiting to see how they book it before I really say too much yet. But we'll see what happens as they wrestle at Dynamite Grand Slam next week. So both shows are pretty stacked at this point. Video promo hyped Anna Jay versus the Bunny on Rampage. This led to a segment where the Dark Order was fighting back and forth. So Anna Jay said she didn't want any of them at ringside. So more dissension for the Dark Order. I'm sure Bunny's getting a win on Rampage. That's my prediction there. Next, we had Dan Lambert and America's Top Team.
Oh my God!
Dan Lambert, of course, insulted the fans, calling the men small and the women large in the arena. He mocked the flippy style of AEW, basically, again, just running down the company. Again, in my opinion, he's playing Jim Cornette. That's his whole gimmick. But that sort of thing. But this the AEW hater type thing. Chris Jericho came out though, which kind of big pop from the crowd because
it was surprising to see.
Well, but in a way, it's kind of like, all right, they're moving him on to something different, which I'll give him props for that. So he made out. Of course, the crowd was singing Judas, and of course, Lambert demanded they cut off his music, which they did. But the crowd kept singing it, so. Great job on the crowd there to kind of put one up on Dan Lambert there. Jericho called him a fat-faced dipshit, which got then he started to come up with a song to, fat-faced dipshit, yeah, or something like that. It was kind of cheesy, but Jericho working the crowd over here. Lambert called Jericho a manipulator, getting the fans to spend all their money on Jericho's merchandise.
No,
probably
not money. He said allowance.
Oh, the allowance that they earned, yes. And then Jericho asked, "You all get allowance?" But anyway, Jericho asked of America's top team, "Which one of you guys is on top?" Which got a deep reaction from the crowd. He brought up the fact that
the crowd started chanting, "Who's
on top? Who's on top?" Yeah. So he brought up the fact that he's fought MMA fighters before, which I believe was it a Brock Lesnar reference? They got into a fight in the back.
Said the Beast.
Oh, did he say the Beast? Okay, I must have missed that part. He said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, which is, what is it, the old Avenger? Mike Tyson.
No, Mike Tyson told him that.
Yeah, exactly. So Jericho and Hager were about to head to the ring, but Lambert said this match had to happen in a real city. Jericho and Hager will take on the Men of the Year next week in New York. So building the card, it's kind of a spur of the moment, kind of. I don't know if they had this plan. It felt out of left field. Now, they may have had this plan for a while, but something for Jericho and Hager to do. We'll see what they do here. I don't know. That could go either way, really, in my opinion. I don't think it really matters. It could go either way. I'd be fine with it. This was interesting, too. The Gun Club talked about why they attacked Paul White. They're all undefeated in tag matches together.
And triple tag matches.
In different combinations, too. I was sitting there thinking, I didn't really think of it. But, yeah. So they've got a legitimate gripe here. You can say...
but why take it out on Paul?
Just to get attention, to draw the attention to the fact. But yeah, I don't know if Paul's going to ever do anything to fight this. I don't know if
that was the right move.
Maybe not, but I get they're trying to draw attention to, hey, we're here. You're not giving us opportunities. We've earned them.
But that had nothing to do with Paul. Can you take that? Your move is to take out whoever your competition. Paul White is not your competition.
Yeah, I don't know how a Paul White is going to.
It was weird.
Yeah, if they don't do anything follow up with a Paul White, I mean, whatever. But at the same time, it's interesting if you wouldn't follow it up either, but I don't really care if they do follow it up personally. But I mean, at least I liked how they at least pointed out they ain't getting the respect. But it was odd. Yeah, you're right. Bringing in a Paul White thing, other than the fact that, hey, look at us, we're over here. That's all it was for. But yeah, it was a little weird. But if all that's true, and I'm sure it is, otherwise they wouldn't have mentioned it. Maybe they'll get some opportunities. We'll see what happens. Especially the young guys, I think deserve. Billy Gunn obviously has been around and around the block and all that stuff. I don't know if we need to see that too much. But the two young Gunn guys, no, absolutely. Let's do something with them. I mean, you're doing something with 2.0. Why not with the Gun Club? Jade Cargill defeated Layla Hirsch. It was kind of there. I didn't think it was anything spectacular. I mean, nothing against it really. Nothing wrong with it. But it was just kind of, you get kind of like again to highlight Jade Cargill keeping her undefeated streak. Hirsch climbed the ropes, but Cargill ran out of the way on a moonsault and crushed her with a pump kick. Cargill then hit Jaded for the win. So Cargill gets another win. I'm assuming at some point she's going to challenge for the women's title and all these wins she's getting here. She's undefeated. Yeah. But I don't know if it'll be against Britt or wait. Maybe you keep building until Britt loses the title to a babyface. I just don't think that's anytime soon. So we'll see what they do. But Cargill definitely undefeated. Then we had an Andrade video promo, which is where I referenced the last week's Rampage. He demanded that his assistant explain his actions from Rampage last week and allowing Chavo to get in the ring and help him win. Chavo may have given him the directions, but Andrade is the boss. So I like the fact that Andrade is not happy with this. So that's good. But again, agreed. So he's not. He doesn't want to win that way. So that's good. So we'll probably see this match again against Pac at some point, maybe. But again, if you're bringing in the dirtiest player in the game, you're going to have to expect that he's going to get involved too. But we'll see what they do. Maybe they don't do that. But at least in this case, I like the fact that Andrade is upset about it. So good. Then we had Taz followed by Hook. They walked out to commentary. They got into Punk's face, and Taz was blaming him for taking his job or accused him of doing so. Of course, Punk's like, dude, I'm not taking your job. I'm just doing this as a guest thing. Punk dropped the headset and faced off with Hook. Powerhouse Hobbs then laid out Punk from behind. He hit Punk so hard in the back of the head.
So I saw this shit coming.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, as soon as he started to walk away toward Punk, that's when I saw it. Yeah.
I said, Hobbs is going to pop shit out of him.
Or somebody was, either him or Starks. But
no, I knew it was Hobbs.
Well, it makes sense to build the Starks, so yeah.
Miranda's sitting there when she's watching it with me. And
she probably loved it.
As soon as Hobbs hit him, she goes, well, that was pretty fucking stiff.
Yes, it was.
It was.
And not only that, they did clear off the announce table, which they usually don't put a lot of people through on AEW. Occasionally, they've kind of jumped over the announce table. But this is the first time I've actually seen them clear off the table with those big monitors.
Yeah. But here's my thing.
Oh, go ahead.
This seems so out of pocket because it's like, this should have been something you kicked off with. The moment Punk came out there, Taz should have came out, took great offense to the fact that you're out here. Like, this is my stick. you shouldn't be here type shit.
But they also wanted to have Punk on part of the show, so.
And I get that part.
Yeah.
But it's like you could have gave Punk the night off if this was your end goal was this. This segment was either good for just a either backstage situation, or if you really want Punk on the show, another promo situation.
Right. And technically you could have just booked Hobbs versus Hook based on what they did last week, talking about, the promo segment.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't maybe necessarily do it, but I get they were trying to further the feud. Cool. But, you're not necessarily wrong about how maybe they're just trying to get Punk on these shows. I agree.
I get it, but it's like, you could have done this a few different ways.
Right.
Now, actually, the entrance and music, all that shit. Like, you didn't have to do any of that. Like, to get to where you were going with this.
Right.
Or where you're, what you're setting up with this could have all been achieved in multiple different ways.
Yeah, it could, but I get why they're doing it. I get
why they did it. It's just
like the crowd, they're popping the crowd and getting everybody happy. I get it. But yeah, you're not totally wrong either. So, I mean, you can look at it either way. Absolutely. No doubt about it. This also ended with Powerhouse Hobbs chokeslamming Punk through the table, which this table did not break an inch. So it looked like it sucked for Punk with the shot to the back of the head and his table. So, so Punk, welcome back, buddy. You took a couple shots here that looked like sucked for sure, but definely further that feud.
That shoulder was real.
Yeah. The table wasn't much better. Shawn Spears addressed Darby Allin. He's the man who gave Allin his first loss. I like how they played that up, and they showed the clips of it. So good. That showed that Shawn Spears is at least somebody to be reckoned with. They haven't really always used him outside of more some guy to kind of help put other people over, but he's had his moments. But yeah, I would definitely love to see maybe put the TNT title on the guy at some point. That'd be a great thing. But anyhow, not tonight though. Darby Allin defeated Shawn Spears here. They fought on the top rope. Spears pulled Allin down by the chain around his neck. He went for the C4 onto the ring steps, but Allin countered it with a stunner before taking out Spears with an awesome suicide dive, which they moved the steel steps over, and so Spears was sitting on it kind of like an adult, and of course Darby hit him and kind of flown over the steel steps, which is kind of a nice little spot. Then of course Darby Allin jumped in and dropped the coffin drop on him for the win. So after the match, FTR came out and faced off with Allin and Sting. They brawled and Tully whacked Sting with a chair because they're building off this Tully-Sting feud from back in the day. And Sting got in Tully's face but was overwhelmed by the numbers advantage. FTR hit a nasty-looking spike piledriver on Sting. Let's hope he's okay. Before Tully wiped off his face paint. So definitely setting up there, and they've announced now FTR will face Darby Allin and Sting next week too. So interesting. We'll see what Sting does.
Look, listen.
Okay.
Listen to me when I say this. It's not that I don't want to see Sting in the ring.
Right.
But I don't want to see Sting in the ring.
Yeah, and I don't want him to get hurt more than anything. He's looked great, and they've done it in a way to not hurt him, but he's taken a few scary bumps, the power bomb and the pile driver.
But the offshoot to that shit is then you leave Darby in the ring just to get his ass whooped.
Well, and that's kind of his role. Then he has the babyface coming back, and yeah, I mean, I get it. But it's the spot thing. It's just what Darby does. But
I give him somebody else. Mm-hmm. Have somebody come to their defense here. Mm-hmm. I so wanted that to happen. If then let Tully and Sting exchange shots.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you got to figure this is going to at least come down to at least a Tully Sting face-off of some sorts. Yeah. Probably not in a match, but during this match, maybe on the outside, But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure the match will be fun. I just worry about Sting at his. I mean, again, he's 62, and I know people have wrestled to old age before. But it's just concerning, especially when the guy is coming off severe neck injury after the Seth Rollins buckle bomb and stuff. We're just concerned, but at the same time, we'll see what they do. If they do it like they have before, they'll take care of Sting. I have no doubt that they're going to try their best to do so. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't disagree. Maybe at some point, we've talked about how Sting probably needs to break away from Darby Allin at some point. Let Darby do his thing. You don't need the help. He doesn't have to be the one to take the beating the whole time, that sort of thing. But that's just kind of Darby's shtick right now, and maybe that'll change up someday, but right now, it's not going to. they had a Daniel Bryan video promo that aired. He called the Elite insecure, noting that he's only going after one member, Kenny Omega. He knows how great Omega can be, but he's just excited to get in the ring and wrestle. In AEW, everyone wants to prove themselves, and he said, I'm here and I'm game. That led to the Bryan Danielson Kenny Omega promo. Shivani brought him out. The American Dragon is back, and he is in AEW. He asked Danielson about a potential match with Kenny Omega. Danielson asked what the crowd thought. Of course, that got a big eruption from the crowd. Don Callis and Omega then walked out and called Danielson sickening. Callis, he mocked Danielson's statements about how hard of a decision his move to AEW was. If Danielson really made this decision for the good of the wrestling industry, he's, quote, just a mark. Danielson told him to shut up, but because he's here to talk to Omega. Someday this will be about the title, but right now it's just about who is better. So, long story short of this here, Daniel Bryan basically challenged Kenny Omega, kind of goaded him, say yes if you've got any balls sort of thing, and eventually Omega accepted. So, I'm glad that they acknowledge this will not be for the title, especially since they're doing it so fast.
Yes.
I get this is a dream match. I'm glad they're doing it. It's going to be great, no doubt. But if it was for the title, I'd be madder about it. Yeah. Right now, I'm just like, all right, it's going to be fun to watch. So right. But I got a feeling Kenny's losing. I got a feeling Kenny's losing. That's my problem.
Still be your champion.
I know. And again, we've also talked on this channel too, though. I'm not defending it necessarily, but we've also talked about you can beat champions sparingly. Now, he did just lose to Christian not long ago. I don't think he might have lost in a tag, but he didn't get pinned. But
still lost in a tag.
Agreed, and that's still a loss, no doubt about it. So we don't need to make a habit of this. But I get you're not going to have. I got a feeling this is going to end in a way.
It's going to end in a stupid finish.
It's something because I don't think. I mean, you can't beat Daniel, and I don't think you want to beat your champion. So I got a feeling the feud must continue type situation. I don't know how or why. Probably the Elite get involved. I don't know. But at least on paper, I love the match. But I'm not going to lie. It is a little like, all right, maybe the booking of it.
And we go back to where we were months ago.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, we'll see. But, yeah, I'm excited for the match. But
like if we go back to where I hated it because you were doing this
the Elite stuff.
Like that shit got annoying.
I hope they don't. But the 6-man tag is another thing,
What's your other option?
I don't know. But that's why I want to wait and see what they do. And then I'll make my judgment then. But, yeah, right now, I got a feeling you would think Daniel would beat him because you're not – I mean, again –
because if Daniel beats your champion in a non-title match, gives him every right to challenge for that title then.
Well, that's WWE booking. I don't like that either. I don't like when you beat champions and they get a title match. I hate that. Let Daniel earn some wins. But in this case, I don't know.
He just got one of the major wins. He beat your champion. And then proved, because all he's trying to prove, that he's better than your champion.
Yeah, I know, but that shtick is overplayed that way. And again, that's not necessarily AEW's fault because, like I said, it's been done to death on other shows.
It's been done in wrestling in general.
I understand, but not the severity it's been done lately. So yeah, that if AEW were to do that, again, they're the company who has not done it every week. Other than the fact, like I said, that he did lose to Christian not long ago. So I guess if they do it, like I said, if you're doing it sparingly, it's not bad. It's just got that stigma about it right now because of other companies. But because there are other better ways to build to a title match. But again, I still think the title's going to Adam Hangman Page. It's not changed my mind at all in that regard. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I'm glad it's non-title. At least if it goes one way or the other, the belt's not involved. So that's a good. But yeah, match-wise, it'll be incredible. I have no doubt about that. So yeah, that match is on next week's Dynamite show. So interesting. Very quick. You can almost maybe even add that maybe AEW hot shot at that a little bit. Maybe.
But it's still that situation. Like, again, I understand what you're saying, that they don't do it often. But you're doing it. They're doing it in the sense of you have a guy where you could put him. Like Kenny doesn't have to take this match,
right? No, of course.
Put him up against somebody else in the Elite. Have him work to you to get his first win.
Well, to get the title shot, I think they will. But yeah, I don't know.
You've got every instance to put roadblocks in his way now. Kenny should honestly feel like I don't have to prove shit to you. I'm the AEW champion, and I'm the AEW champion for a fucking reason.
Yeah, but he called it his manhood, bro.
To you, Dan.
I know. I'm playing devil advocate here.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
If if I'm going to shit on the fact that somebody has to lose in that match between uh, uh, the Demon and Roman, there's no way I'm not going to say the same thing applies in this match here. Because Roman hasn't fucking lost, but Roman has been...
Roman's tapped out many times, but not in a match. But
yeah, not in a match at all.
But the Demon's never lost. That's the difference here, that both of these guys have lost in places. Now, Daniel's not in AEW, but
one of them is not your champion either.
Right. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's interesting to see how this goes. I'm not saying I'm 100% on board with it because of like the stuff we've mentioned here, but the match absolutely will be incredible. I think we can both agree on that one.
I'm not shitting on that at all. What I want to see this, yes, 100%. But it also can be a thing where if you put these roadblocks in his way to get to you in the first fucking place, so then you finally feel like, fine, whatever. I'll show you that I'm better than you. Right. And I'll show you that I'm the reason why I put this company on my back. He is where he is without a question because of his talent. Right? Fine, I'll give you that. But it ain't for this because you haven't earned this.
Right.
But we can do this.
Well, again, they made it work with Christian, I thought.
But Christian was already getting wins before he got that shot.
Agreed. And like the Ruby Soho thing, I'm glad Ruby Soho literally got, I believe, 3 wins last week alone from the pay-per-view and the 2 shows after. She got 3 wins. So I'm glad that they at least built up something before they do the title match, so that it's a very quick something, but that she did get 3 wins and is undefeated. So they did do that. But even so, with the Ruby thing, too, it's a little quick. I'm not going to lie.
I understand what you're saying, too, about, Hangman's winning that title. Hangman lost. If Daniel Bryan beats Kenny in a non-title match, right? Yeah. Hangman lost his match.
Okay, I understand.
Daniel Bryan still has the argument of, I beat your champion in a non-title match. Something you can't even fucking do.
Who's to say that doesn't turn into a triple threat? And Hangman goes over Kenny then.
Daniel still, the argument is still invalid. At that point, you're finishing this story, granted, as you should, even though it's taking as long as it has. You're finishing this story with the Hangman, fine, cool. But I think you don't do that because the overarching story between Hangman and Kenny is bigger than that. Which is...
Yeah, adding Daniel to that equation, yeah.
Adding Daniel Bryan to just be like, when you added Daniel Bryan...
It does feel kind of WWE-ish. I throw it at a guy for no reason. But again, with the Adam Hangman Page thing, though, I mean, obviously the pandemic hit. They weren't going to do it in front of no fans, so I get it. And then his wife got pregnant, so they were not going to pull that trigger until his wife had their kid. So I get why some circumstances may have prolonged this. So I'm not going to totally beat them up for that. But... yeah, you're not wrong. If you add Daniel Bryan to that mix, while it would be an incredible triple threat as well, I can see why.
Same thing when they added Daniel Bryan to the triple threat match between
Roman and Edge. Yeah. So I get the argument there. So yeah, I mean, like I said, again, for all these reasons, I get why people be like, all right, they're doing it a little quick. They didn't build it properly. I think they're trying to justify it by, okay, it's not for the belt, but then you got to be careful with your finish. So we'll see how they do it. Yeah, somebody's got to lose. So we'll see how they do it. But the last time we thought that about Christian and Kenny, though, and I thought it turned out okay. So let's wait and see what they do. I'm preaching patience on this one. But I get the concern, no doubt about it. So let's see here. Miro addressed Fuego del Sol. Interestingly enough, he did not mention his smoking hot wife this week, so I was sad-faced with that one.
But he's talking about the car there.
He's definitely talking about the car. I'm going to bash your brain. I'm going to bash your car. This is the word of the Redeemer. So we'll get that this week on Rampage. So then they ran down the entire list here. I'm not going to run down every single match here, but the Rampage lineup looks pretty good. The Dynamite Grand Slam and the Rampage Grand Slam, those are stack cards. Those are going to be some good shows. So check those out next week on Wednesday and Friday night, I think, in my opinion. Then we had the main event. Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston defeated 2.0 with Daniel Garcia at ringside. 2.0 and Garcia attacked Moxley and Kingston before the bell. So no interference there necessarily.
And then those geeks, they had the numbers advantage and still lost.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, I did kind of like how they attacked it before the bell, though, in this case, because it tied into what started this whole thing when they attacked Moxley and Kingston before they come out weeks ago. So it tied into that overarching story. So I like that. But yeah, they had the numbers advantage. A couple times Garcia didn't really get involved. He got beat up on the outside, so it wasn't really a DQ type thing. But yeah, the match basically, Moxley and Kingston pretty well, did their thing here, and they won with a combination lariat and a half-and-half suplex for the decisive win. After the match, Minoru Suzuki made his entrance again, this time getting the full Kazinanare. Is that how you say it?
Got it the first time.
Well, I don't remember if they did or not, but yeah, we'll go with it. I'm just going what's on the story is the story they're telling here. He had a nasty bruised eye. Lance Archer
that
came.
Shit looked gross.
Well, yeah, that was from the match on Dynamite probably still. So yeah, Lance Archer came out from behind and pulled Kingston into the crowd, and the two Perrys brawled all over the arena. Suzuki went for the Gotch pile driver on the timekeeper's table, but Moxley used the microphone, hit him in the eye, is what the commentary said. I don't know if he actually did or not. To fight his way out of it, they continued to brawl as the show ended. So. It'd be funny if they were like brawling all over the place, and then when they come out for the match, they're still brawling and they fight all the way to the ring, which would be kind of silly. But
he hit him on the opposite side.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, it didn't look like he did, but that was the story they were trying to tell. I was like, brother, I don't think he came close to that eye, but nice try.
We saw him hit him on the. I was like,
yeah,
I don't know about that one.
It kind of felt like once again Moxley's time got cut here toward the end of the show a little bit. This was rather quick. The whole main event segment. But, again, they were packing a lot into this, trying to build to next week's big shows. I get it. But AEW, you could argue, at NXT this week, which we'll talk about tomorrow with Mike, they both, I think, kind of having some issues with letting some stuff breathe a little bit. Maybe booking too many segments and certain things they got to rush to another one, kind of maybe cut some time of another, which happens on all shows. But sometimes it's best to kind of, you go boom, 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 and the crowd can't have a time to catch their breath a little bit. AEW All Out was paced perfectly, but sometimes these shows, and NXT was trying to introduce thousands of characters, it seems like, but we'll get into that tomorrow.
Go.
Yeah, and I'm sorry we're not doing it on this show, but since we're going to have our special guest on this week, since he's available on a certain night this week, we're going to do that with him because he wanted to talk about it, and he likes NXT, so we're going to discuss it with him in full. So if you want to check out our NXT review, by all means, check it out here Friday morning on the channel. But for now, that's going to do it for here for our wrestling recap show of the week. Got any other thoughts to add before we head out of here, buddy? He's thinking.
I was thinking something smart as saying I couldn't.
Couldn't do it. That's all right. Well, that's all right. We'll be back tomorrow for our NXT review with hopefully, as long as everything goes well, we'll have our buddy Mike. If not, one of us or both of us will review NXT for you here. So we are going to review NXT 2.0, or in my case, maybe 2.0. A little tease for you guys there. We'll see. It wasn't all bad, but we'll get into it. But if you find us for the very first,
I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, and we're going to go through all the details of the change and everything they're doing tomorrow on the show.
Right.
Very bright, no doubt about that. Splash, baby. Splash colors.
Hold on. I'm going to say this.
All right. Sneak preview.
The aesthetic of NXT was always this underground thing because in the eyes of WWE, they were the underdogs in their own fucking company. Mm-hmm. That gave NXT, for me, its aesthetic.
Me too.
It's what I enjoyed because it felt like indie wrestling on a major scale. Right. And indie wrestling to me is where wrestling lives.
Right. Yeah.
Because everybody there is wrestling for a purpose.
Yeah.
You know? That dream.
Yeah.
And now it's just this bright.
Whatever. It's Raw and SmackDown now. That's what it is. Because, again, nothing against the aesthetic and the look of Raw and SmackDown. I actually think Raw and SmackDown look beautiful. Maybe take away the 3D graphics that hover over the arena. But other than that, I love the Titantrons. I love the ring post stuff. I love the video boards. I love all that stuff.
But I always love the fact that NXT didn't have. It's like they never had that budget. They did.
Well,
they
did. Yeah, but to me, my point is, while I like the way Raw and SmackDown look, every show doesn't have to look like the main roster.
No,
it doesn't.
Like the only time it looked bombastic, I believe is the correct.
Bombastic.
Yeah, bombastic. Bambo.
Either way, whatever.
Extravagant, over the top.
Yeah. Polished.
It was takeovers because takeovers were a big deal.
But even then, it still had that indie look.
But it still had that. Yes, it still had that gritty underground, dark lighting look.
But see, that's not the WWE brand no more. That's the problem. They view it as one thing as the right way, and including the booking and all that, which we'll get into too. But
It's like when Impact was TNA and they had the 6-sided ring. It was that 6-sided ring is what set them apart from everything.
Yes, unique.
And NXT's underground look, especially after the pandemic, and they had the plexiglass and the chain link. I thought that shit was great. I was like, no matter what,
well,
keep that.
And even the arena itself for the new NXT looks fine. It's just but the best word I can use is bright, like light bright. Like that's an old school reference.
Not a fan. The black and gold to me was.
They got rid of the gold or the black mat. They got rid of all that. But yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't look terrible if you like that style. But to me, it's just like not every show has to be like that. Raw and SmackDown look like they're 20 years in the future. It's so polished and futuristic looking. It's not pro wrestling. It's definitely
entertainment.
Yeah, it's an entertainment thing, and that's a dirty word at this point.
That's why NXT was so appealing, because NXT, like I said, had that indie feel to it. It's all right, whatever.
Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow, but we'll end this show tonight since we're going kind of long here. But yeah, tune in tomorrow for our NXT review with all of us here on the channel. And until our next video, guys, if you're finding this for the first time, please hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until tomorrow, guys, take care.
Anthony Go-Go is still a stupid name, and so is Bron Breakker.
Boom, boom. A go-go punch.